The Pienqui Chronicles, Swiber Mirage. Prologue. The Neon Prophecy. The Mirage Desert wasn't a place on any map. It was a glitch in the world, a liminal space where reality folded in on itself. The sand shimmered like crushed circuitry, pulsing with buried signals from the past. Under the blood-orange sky, Frankie Koo pushed her cyber bike to its limits, the engine screaming as she chased a whisper only she could hear. Somewhere ahead, beyond the heat distortions and the fragmented time loops, a pole of electric blue light rose from the dunes. It called to her. She didn't know why, but she had to find out. Pienqui Chronicles, Swiber Mirage Chapter 1. Ghosts in the code Frankie through the Mirage Frankie Koo. Liddy Ma Fuka. She mumbled to herself as she tore through the Mirage Desert, her black Harley Classic roaring beneath her. The bike was a beast, a custom hybrid of luxury and power, all speed and sin. Orange sand kicked up behind her, flying like flames from the spinning tires, making her heart K-ray. Vroom, vroom. The engine screamed, burning fuel that spit pure chaos out of the exhaust. Frankie rode like she was made for the wind. Bare arms, honey bronze skin, bright yellow leather motorbike pants clinging to her long legs. She didn't wear helmets, jackets, or shoes. She didn't need protection. She was the danger. She was the cyberpunk rebel, a stylish savage. Alone in the mirage, riding miles from anything real. Then, a ball of fire erupted on the horizon. Frankie's hazel eyes widened, full lips twisting into a grin. She flicked out her tongue and gripped the handlebars tighter. "Oh, I like that," she hissed, smizing with her hella long lashes. Das me. Yet ma kinda steeds." As she drew closer, the fireball transformed into something else, a long chrome pole rising from the sand. A stripper pole, out here in the middle of nowhere. Frankie slowed, eyes. "Catch my sauce. Like ma drips? Lick ma fingers." She pulled her bike to a halt, stopping a few feet away. The chrome pole shone bright, too perfect, too real. Then it started to shift. The air around the pole shimmered, and a silver dome unfurled, spreading above and below it like a bubble of liquid metal. Frankie squinted, trying to make sense of it. The mirage was fucking with her head again. She was about to turn away when a pair of black bedazzled pumps appeared. She blinked, holding up 2 fingers in a classic peace sign. Wu 0 OE. She breathed. Standing across from her was a pale, model-esque figure, a girl wrapped in a black lace bodysuit, gripping the chrome pole with arms carved from marble. Muscles flexed beneath flawless skin, hair swept back in a sleek ponytail. A cyborg, a fucking robo-baddie. Frankie's chest tightened. "My titties got hard," she muttered. "If my titty got hard, this gonna be really Gucci." She revved the engine, about to tear off, when the cyborg girl turned to face her. She flicked out her tongue. Frankie's heart skipped a beat. Mental pulse that sent a shiver down Frankie's spine. She was stuck. Frozen like a pinup at a Cosmos Racer magazine shoot. The cyborg leaned against the pole, fingers tapping her thick nalga, eyes locked on Frankie. "Hold me if you want to feel a lil something." Frankie sucked in a breath. She wanted to get closer. She popped a wheelie instead, the engine howling like a beast. But she couldn't shake the feeling that she was caught in something bigger than herself. Chest, the cyborg didn't move, just stood there gazing, hypnotizing her with a predator's stare. Then she dropped, ass up, tongue out, crawling towards Frankie like a savage animal in heat. Frankie's body responded, heat crackling over her skin, braids whipping around her head like Medusa's snakes. She dropped her arms, throwing up the energy. She was caught in the mirage, tangled in the cyborg's pull. And then, they were face to face. The cyborg leaned in, her milky lips parting, and their tongues locked. Sue sat back on her black leather bike seat, gripping the handles as her honey bronze skin gleamed under the fading mirage sun. She was still buzzing from the encounter. Cyborg Pienqui's taste still on her tongue, the energy in her veins like a high she didn't ask for but couldn't shake off. Her yellow leather motorbike pants clung tight, heat rising from her skin. Her bare feet dug into the hot sand. She hadn't planned to stop in the mirage, but the chrome pole, the dome, and the cyborg girl who just dropped into her reality like a neon ghost. Yeah, that wasn't something you just drove away from. Frankie ran her tongue over her teeth, smirking. Damn, what kind of trip was that? She flexed her fingers over the throttle. The mirage was still flickering, glitching at the edges like an overexposed hologram. It was that in-between state, where things weren't solid, where reality bent like heat waves off pavement. And in that shimmer, she saw something new. A figure in the distance, walking slow. At first, she thought it was Pian Kwai coming back for round 2. But nah, this was someone else. She was built different. Longer strides, tighter energy, sharper in a way that made Frankie's pulse stutter in her chest. The girl stepped through the distortion like she had always belonged there. Frankie squinted, lifting her chin, already feeling that same predator-prey pull she felt with Pian Kwai Wei. The girl was wrapped in black leather, high-waisted cyber kink shorts, buckles glinting, a sleeveless corset hugging her like a second skin. Straps lined her thighs, the suspender-style clips hooking into knee-high cyber heels that pulsed red at the base. A bodysuit that looked like it was painted on, but reinforced like armor. Her hair was raven dark, but dipped in UV streaks of hot pink and deep blue, long and bone straight, falling over one shoulder like a warning sign. Her eyes, black sclera, violet irises, and glowing around the edges. Frankie bit the inside of her cheek. The F** kinda dream sequence is this. The girl stopped just a few feet away. Her stance was solid. Hands at her hips, her jawline sharp enough to carve up any fool who got too close. Then she smirked, and Frankie felt it. The energy crackled between them, something deeper than attraction, something coded into the air. A challenge, a question: you ready for this? Frankie licked her lips and tilted her head, rolling her shoulders like she had all the time in the world. What's good, shorty? You lost. The girl just laughed, her voice a low, electric hum. Ain't nobody lost in the Mirage. Either you here cause you meant to be, or you here cause you meant to be, or you here cause you about to disappear. Frankie raised a brow. Oh, so you a prophet now. Damn, these cyborg types really be talking in riddles. The girl stepped closer, slow, deliberate, the cyber heels clicking in rhythm with the glitching lights around them. Then she reached up, touching her own violet lips, smudging the color with her thumb before dragging it down her own neck. You still tasting her? Frankie's throat went dry. She stayed leaning back against her bike, but her grip on the throttle tightened. Damn you nosy. The girl's grin widened. Not nosy, just connected. Frankie sucked in a slow breath. This was something else. She knew how to read energy, and this girl was danger wrapped in leather, a coded warning stitched into cyberpunk silk. You got a name, or you just another Mirage trick? The girl finally stopped a few inches away, tilting her head like she was scanning Frankie's soul. They call me Frankie too. Frankie barked a short laugh. Frankie 2. The F* happened to Frankie 1***. Frankie 2's eyes flickered with amusement. She didn't make it. Frankie felt her stomach tighten at that. A lot of people didn't make it in the Mirage. She had spent her life outrunning ghosts, racing the circuit, making sure she never got caught up in something she couldn't handle. And yet, she felt herself leaning forward, like she was getting pulled in again. What you want, Frankie? Frankie's grin was slow, deliberate. I want to see if you're worth the hype. Frankie smirked. You trying to race? You trying to fight? You trying to F***? You gotta be specific, baby. Frankie just stared at her, those violet eyes scanning her like she was running through every possible outcome of this moment. Then, why not all three? Frankie's breath hitched. Oh, she was in trouble. And she liked it. The Suzuki invitation before Frankie could respond, the Mirage flickered again. This time, the skyline cracked open. Above them, a golden message unraveled like a cyber god had written it across the sky. The House of Hefna opens tonight. Frankie looked up, then back at Frankie. Well, looks like we both got an invite. Frankie tapped her fingers on her bike, feeling that same pull in her chest. She had spent her whole life racing to survive, but this was something bigger. Guess we better show up. Frankie smirked. Hope you can keep up. Cue. Frankie revved the engine, grinning like the reckless bitch she was. Baby, I am the F***ing race. And with that, they took off into the Mirage, heading straight for destiny. Chapter 3. House of Blue, the baddies rise. The note that shook the universe it started as a pulse. A hum in the dark, slipping through satellites and cybernetic nerve networks. A message whispered across the universe like a neon prophecy. The House of Hefna opens tonight. At first, it was a rumor, a glitch, a fever dream passing through the right circuits, hitting the right ears. Then the signals strengthened, bouncing from planet to planet, dimension to dimension, summoning the ones who understood its language. Every bad bitch, outlaw, rogue android, fallen goddess, and intergalactic femme fatale felt the pull. They knew what it meant. A calling, a test, a chance to step into the ring and prove they were worthy of something bigger. And they all wanted in. The gathering of the baddies, they came from every galaxy, every back alley, every underworld where power moved in whispers. The bitches from the moon, the hoes from Mars, the slick-tongued rebels from the neon gutters of New Venus. The last remnants of Earth's fallen goddesses. They pulled up in chrome-plated ships, dripping in jewels, with futuristic furs dragging across the floors of their spacecraft. They came in glowing bodysuits and holographic heels, with battle scars hidden beneath silk gloves, with eyes that had seen empires burn. They came to fight, to seduce, to conquer. They came to see if Bae Hefna was real. The Bae effect Bae Hefna wasn't just a name. She was a frequency, a force, the female version of Hugh Hefner, but 10 times deadlier. She built the House of Hefna, an empire where power was written in seduction, war, and empire building. A place where femme fatales didn't just survive, they ruled. She had rings upon rings upon rings, championship belts from every kind of battle, from street fights in Neo-Tokyo to wrestling dominatrix leagues in the metaverse, to bare-knuckle brawls on the moons of Jupiter. She was the original Barbie body of the 90s, back when Earth still had rules and gravity. She had lived through centuries, untouched by time, genetically enhanced, sharpened by war. And she had one mission, to find the last gems in the galaxy, not jewels, not metals, people, women, creatures built from the most powerful forces of the cosmos. She was building a new order, a new kind of femme fatale revolution. And the bitches who showed up tonight, they were about to see if they had what it took to be part of it. The fight for entry, it wasn't about standing in line. If you wanted a place in the House of Hefna, you had to earn it. That's why the cage existed. At the center of the Mirage, inside the Suzuki Club, was an arena like no other, a battle dome where fights weren't just about fists. They were about style, charm, seduction, power. The moment the message spread across the stars, the cage lit up. The energy was hot as fuck. Smoke rising, neon dripping from the ceiling, holograms pulsing as high rollers placed their bets on who would win. El Tias, the underground kingpin of the Suzuki Club, had everything under control, or so he thought, because when the baddest bitches in the universe pulled up, he realized this night was going to be bigger than anything he had ever seen. The first challenger steps up inside the cage. The lights flashed. A figure stepped forward. She was tall, draped in liquid black armor that hugged her like a second skin. Her chrome heels clanked against the floor, sending sparks into the air. Her nails were dipped in silver, sharp enough to slice through steel on her eyes. They glowed red, scanning the crowd, hunting for the first one stupid enough to challenge her. Her name was Martyr Martha, a war priestess, a warrior trained in Big Pharma's private army, genetically modified to be stronger, faster, deadlier than any human who had ever walked Earth. She was here on a mission. She wasn't here to join the House of Hefna. She was here to destroy it. The first fight begins, a bell rang. The cage sealed. The first fight for Hefna's new empire had begun, and only the baddest bitches would survive the night. Chapter 4. Reign of Hefna, the war and the rise of a new order. The reason for war Big Pharma wanted Bae Hefna gone. Not just gone, erased. She wasn't just another problem in the system. She was a threat to the entire Neuralink pharmaceutical empire. For centuries, Big Pharma had controlled human evolution, rewriting the genetic code with their bioenhanced implants, neural hacking devices, and dependency-based healthcare systems. They weren't just selling medicine. They were manufacturing a world where they owned the body, mind, and soul. They created diseases just to sell the cure. They monitored every brainwave, controlled every emotion, dictated every lifespan. And then, Bae Hefna happened, the original Barbie body. The last pure genetic code. A living, breathing, high-performance machine of beauty, power, and longevity. And worse, she wasn't just keeping it to herself. She figured out how to regenerate cells, not with synthetic drugs, not with mind control implants, but with cannabis-infused healing therapy. Her Canna Avocado Coconut Oil blend wasn't just some luxury beauty product. It was a weapon against Big Pharma's entire industry. It reversed aging. It healed scars, neural decay, even reprogrammed trauma. It made bodies self-sustaining, independent from corporate medicine. She was handing people the power to heal themselves, and that made her enemy number one. Big Pharma had two choices: control her or kill her. And they knew Hefna would never be controlled. The assassin in the cage, Martyr Martha, didn't come to join the House of Hefna. She came to burn it down. A high priestess of the Neuralink pharma cult, she was built for one purpose only: extermination of genetic outlaws. Her blood wasn't just laced with nanotech, it was controlled by it. Her muscles were coded for precision destruction. Her mind was programmed with one mission: destroy Bae Hefna and her entire revolution. And now, she was standing in the center of the cage, glowing red, waiting for the first challenger. The Suzuki Club roared with energy as the battle began. The first strike, the first fighter stepped into the ring. A girl from New Venus, draped in neon silk, her arms lined with plasma tattoos that pulsed like electricity. She moved like liquid, all seduction, all grace. She wasn't just here to fight. She was here to hypnotize. She twirled, dipped, curved her body like an ancient dance, eyes locked on modern Martha, ready to charm the kill switch right out of her. And for a moment, it almost worked. Martha's head tilted. Her neural receptors flickered. The New Venus girl leaned in, her lips parting. And then, a snap. Faster than light, Martha's hand lashed out, gripping her throat. The Venusian choked, body dangling in the air, feet kicking. Martha smiled. "You think seduction can rewire me," she whispered, voice glitching. "You think pleasure is stronger than programming?" She clenched her fist. C-rack. The girl's body went limp. She dropped her fist, stepping over her like nothing more than a discarded hologram. Next, the crowd froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Until a second figure stepped forward. Someone no one expected. Frankie Q enters the cage. Frankie Q had no business stepping into that ring. She wasn't a trained assassin. She wasn't a genetically enhanced soldier. She wasn't even part of this war. She was just a racer, a trickster, a street legend from the circuit. But she knew one thing. She hated when bitches thought they were untouchable. She licked her lips, stepping forward, barefoot in the neon sand, yellow leather motorbike pants glistening under the strobes. She flexed her fingers. 8, since nobody else got the ovaries for it. Guess that makes me next. Martha turned, scanning her with precision AI vision. Then, she laughed. "You're not even enhanced." Frankie grinned. "Yeah, but I'm real as fuck." The bell rang. The fight was on. The test of power. Frankie moved on instinct. She wasn't here to play by rules. Martha came at her fast. A red blur, all lethal limbs and sharp precision. Frankie dropped low, spun on her heels, ducked under the first strike, her long braids snapping in the air. Martha's hand slammed into the ground where Frankie's head had been half a second ago. A crater formed. The whole arena shook. The crowd gasped. Frankie grinned. "Damn bitch! You punch any harder, you gon' break the Mirage." She flipped backward, kicking sand in Martha's face, before launching into a spinning roundhouse that cracked against Martha's skull. The impact sent a shockwave through the cage. Martha stumbled. For the first time, she looked pissed. And Frankie loved that shit. She licked her lips, stepping back, arms wide. "Come on, then. Show me what you got," Martha growled. And the real fight began. Scene 6, the rise of a new order above them, high in the house of Hefna. Bae watched the fight unfold. She exhaled smoke, her pink cigar blunt glowing against her full lips. Beside her, Frankie too leaned against the railing, watching intently. "You think she can take her?" Frankie too murmured. Bae smirked. "It ain't about winning." Frankie too raised a brow. "Then what's it about?" Hefna took another slow drag, her eyes glowing with something ancient, something powerful. "It's about who got the nerve to step in that cage at all." And below, Frankie and Martyr Martha collided like gods. The battle for the future of the last free femmes in the universe had begun. Chapter 5. The awakening of Icy Queen's dreamscape torture. The sound message woke her up. A pulse, a vibration. Not physical, but woven into the very fabric of her neural system. It crawled through the quantum network, bypassing every firewall, slipping into her consciousness like a seductive whisper. Bae Hefna's voice. Soft, lethal, ancient. "Wake up, bitch. The house is open. Time to play." Icy Queen's violet eyes snapped open. She wasn't just waking up from sleep. She was snapping out of a deep trance, a deliberate mind trap she had crafted for someone else. She blinked, flexing her fingers, recalibrating her senses. The air around her was thick with illusion. Her own custom-made nightmare playing out in real time. A galactic warlord princess was strapped to the bed across from her, suspended in a web of glowing pink threads, her body frozen in a hyper-realistic simulation. Her eyes were wide, her lips parted. Sweat glistened on her porcelain skin. She was stuck in a dream, a fantasy Icy Queen had built for her, a PNKY fantasy, designed to strip her mind bare, to make her confess everything. Icy Queen rolled her shoulders, stretching her limbs, feeling the cold metal of her cyber corset dig into her ribs. She walked over to the bed, tilting her head as she studied the princess's trembling form. Still no info. "Damn, baby girl. You really trying to test me, huh?" The princess whimpered, her breath hitching. Her body was reacting to something. The princess whimpered. Her body was reacting to something that kept her locked between pleasure and panic, but she hadn't spoken. hadn't cracked. Icy sighed, running a hand through her icy blue hair, frustration curling in her gut. She was wasting time, and now, Bae Hefna had sent the call. The real game was starting. She turned away from the princess, exhaling slow. Guess I'll have to find my answers the old-fashioned way. She snapped her fingers. The entire illusion glitched, pixelated, then collapsed. The princess gasped, her body convulsing as she snapped back to reality, blinking up at Icy with wide, terrified eyes. Icy smirked. Bye, bitch. Hope you enjoyed the stay. She left the princess struggling against her restraints, stepping out of the Pianquai motel into the neon-lit Mirage. The walk to the cage, the Mirage, felt different tonight. More alive, Icy Queen could feel the vibration of it beneath her boots, the hum of the quantum network shifting, pulsing with new frequencies. Bae's note had changed everything. The House of Hefna wasn't just reopening. It was reconstructing reality itself. And Icy Queen wasn't about to be left behind. She knew where she had to go. The cage. The battleground where the baddest bitches in the galaxy were fighting for their place in the new world order. She smirked, licking her lips. Let's see what these hoes really got. She started walking. The Mirage parted for her. The lights shifted, flickering, reacting to her presence like it recognized her. And then, a ship pulled up. A big one. The sound of engines roaring, neon exhaust smoke curling into the air. A sleek silver beauty with UV-lit decals along the side, shaped like a speeding bullet. Loka Lux's ship. Icy Queen slowed her steps, raising a perfectly arched brow. The doors hissed open, and Loka Lux stepped out. Draped in vinyl and attitude, her sapphire chrome heels clicking against the pavement, eyes gleaming beneath gold-rimmed visor glasses. She looked fresh as hell. And she was smiling. Damn, bitch. Loka Lux leaned against the ship, arms crossed. You trying to walk to the cage? In those heels? You buggin'. Icy smirked. And you pulled up like you got somewhere important to be. Loka Lux's grin widened. Face, you already know. Mommy. Icy tapped her nails against her thigh, feeling the hunger in the air, the electric tension building around them. Guess we ride in together then. Loka Lux tilted her head toward the open ship door. Get in, bitch. We go into war. The cage awaits as Loka Lux's ship shot through the Mirage, slicing through glitching skylines and neon grids. Icy Queen leaned back in her seat, flexing her fingers. She could feel it now. The weight of the night. The power struggle playing out in real time. Bae Hefna was calling all the players to the table, and Icy Queen was about to make sure her seat was secured. Loka Lux glanced at her from the pilot's seat. You ready for this? Icy smirked, adjusting the straps on her cyber corset, feeling the pulse of the Mirage syncing with her own body rhythm. Bitch, I was born ready. The ship descended toward the cage. The baddest bitches in the universe were already inside, waiting, and Icy Queen was about to make her entrance. Chapter 6. The road to the masterclass Loka Lux and Maki. A goodbye on the moon wasn't the same anymore. Not since the human moon species had evolved. A new kind of being birthed in low gravity, built with longer limbs, sharper eyes, and lungs that didn't need Earth's atmosphere. They were half human, half moon children, and they moved like they were made of mist and moonlight. Maki was one of them. She stood on the edge of the silver dunes, watching Earth from above, her pale skin glowing under the low light of the lunar surface. Loka Lux knew this moment was coming. She had fought alongside Maki for years, running black market cargo through the dark side of the moon, hustling under the noses of Neuralink-controlled stations. But now, Loka Lux was leaving. She had a mission, one bigger than their lunar escapades, bigger than the hustle. The masterclass, a chance to fight for something more than money, power, and survival. A chance to be part of Bae Hefna's revolution. Maki turned, silver strands of hair floating around her face in the moon's low gravity. So, you really gonna leave me for some Mirage shit? Loka Lux sighed, adjusting her UV shield visor over her sapphire eyes. It ain't just some Mirage shit. This is bigger than us, Maki. Bigger than all this. Maki's eyes darkened, her fingers clenching the edge of her cyber cloak. And if you don't make it, if that cage eats you alive... Loka Lux smirked, stepping closer, placing 2 fingers under Maki's chin, tilting her face up. Then at least I went out doing something real. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then, Maki sighed, pushing Loka's hand away. Go then. Go play with the bad bitches. But don't you dare come back dead. Loka Lux grinned. Wouldn't dream of it, baby. She stepped back onto her hover bike, the engine roaring to life. With one last look at Maki, she hit the throttle. shooting off into space. The cage was waiting. The PNKY Motel. The last stop before the war, the PNKY Motel was a glitch in time, a place that existed between dimensions, constantly shifting, a hotspot for outlaws, mercenaries, and Mirage wanderers. Tonight, it was packed. Everyone who had received Bae Hefna's call was trying to get inside the cage. Some of them were born for this life. Some of them were desperate to survive it. And some were here for chaos. Nikita Biscuit and the receptionist at the front desk. Nikita Biscuit was trying to finesse her way inside. Draped in a short black dress, pink fur ball heels, and a black hat tilted just enough to shadow her face, she was all charm, all smirk, all effortless seduction. She leaned over the reception desk, her glossy black nails tapping against the holographic check-in screen. "Babe, be so for real right now. You really gonna act like you don't see my name on the list?" The receptionist, a pink-haired, four-eyed humanoid with a cybernetic left arm, popped her gum, unimpressed. "No entry without clearance, sweetheart. Don't matter if you got pink fur ball heels or a whole-ass spaceship." Nikita sighed, flipping her platinum curls over her shoulder. "Girl, you really trying to make me beg?" "'Cause I will, but it's gonna be real dramatic." The receptionist chewed her gum louder, tilting her head. "Try me." The parking lot brawl. PNKY versus PNKY outside. In the neon-lit parking lot, another battle was unfolding. A PNKY force agent stood by her motorcycle, adjusting the light gun holsters on her leather straps, her pink thong peeking through as she set her cowboy hat low over her eyes. She wore black stiletto boots, a white crop top, and an attitude that said she wasn't here to play. And across from her, a glitching Mirage version of herself. Same face, same outfit, same swagger, but slightly off. This version wore black shorts, leather straps, black sunglasses, and a magician's hat tilted too perfectly. The real PNKY agent flexed her fingers. "What kind of bullshit is this?" The Mirage version smirked, mirroring her stance. "I dunno, you tell me." Then she lunged. Two versions of the same femme fatale collided. Blades flashing, light guns sparking, heels digging into the pavement. They fought in perfect sync, every move countered, every strike blocked. It was like fighting a living, breathing reflection. The PNKY agent snarled. "I don't got time for this." She pivoted, sliding under her own clone's kick, twisting mid-air, and landing a perfect shot right between the Mirage's ribs. The glitch shattered, dissolving into pixels. But not before whispering something. A single word. "Cage." The real PNKY agent stilled, gripping her gun tighter. That wasn't a fight. That was a test. And if Mirage glitches were already trying to get inside, that meant the war was bigger than she thought. She turned, marching toward the entrance. "Fuck waiting. I'm getting inside." Scene 5. All roads lead to the cage inside the PNKY Motel. Nikita Biscuit was still arguing at the front desk. Outside in the lot, the PNKY force agent adjusted her hat, stepping through the neon-lit doors. And in the skies above, Loka Lux's ship was descending. They all had the same goal: to get inside, to fight for a place in Bae Hefna's master class, to become part of history. And only the strongest, baddest, and wildest would survive the night. Chapter 7. Purpose over love. Loka Lux and Maki. The goodbye that was always coming. The moon never changed. Loka Lux stood at the edge of the silver dunes, her sapphire eyes tracing the view of Earth in the distance, glowing like an old dream. The air was always thin here. The silence is always heavier. But Maki? Maki was exactly the same. Tall, ethereal, her silver hair barely moving in the moon's weak gravity, her face as calm and unmoving as the tides locked beneath the surface. Loka Lux had always envied that about her. Her stillness, her ability to exist without needing to run, chase, or change. So, this is it. Maki's voice was light, but the weight behind it was crushing. Loka Lux sighed, adjusting the collar of her UV shield flight jacket. "I gotta go, Maki." Maki's pale eyes narrowed. "Yeah, you always do." Loka Lux swallowed. She knew what was coming. Maki stepped closer, her moonlight pale fingers curling at her sides. "Every time you come back, you're a different person." She didn't say it with anger, just acceptance. "I've been the same. I don't change, and that was the problem." Loka Lux clenched her jaw. She didn't have the luxury of staying the same. She wasn't born on the moon. She didn't belong to a species so perfectly in sync with its world that it didn't need to evolve. Loka Lux had been born into chaos, hustle, war, and hunger. She had spent her life chasing something she couldn't name. And now, she finally had a reason to keep running. She wasn't chasing love. She was chasing purpose. Mackie, Loka Lux sighed, rubbing her fingers together, feeling the static of the quantum shift pulling at her skin. This ain't about me leaving you. This is about me finding what I'm supposed to be. Mackie stared at her for a long time. Then, she turned her gaze back toward Earth, glowing in the dark. So, what happens when you find it? Loka Lux exhaled, stepping back toward her ship, the doors already sliding open with a hydraulic hiss. She didn't answer, because she didn't know. All she knew was she had to leave. And this time, she wasn't coming back the same. The Widowmaker's secret. Why she betrayed Frankie the Widowmaker wasn't just a rival. She wasn't just a killer. She had loved Frankie Q once. Long before the Mirage, before the war, before the power plays and betrayals, there had been a night, a moment, a rooftop, 2 bodies wrapped in neon and shadows, a bottle of stolen tequila burning slow between them. Frankie had traced the Widowmaker's lips with her thumb, eyes drunk on something deeper than liquor. "You're dangerous," Frankie had murmured, her breath ghosting over her skin. The Widowmaker had only smirked, tilting Frankie's chin up with 2 fingers. "And you love it." That night, they had made a promise. "I'll never be the one to break you." But promises don't last in the Mirage. Love, here, was just another form of control. And tonight she would break her. Because in a world built on power, there was no room for weakness. Frankie's wrists had once been bound in silk, her breath ragged, her body curved under the Widowmaker's touch. The cane had traced a slow, deliberate path down the arc of her back, a whisper of tension before the first strike. "Tell me you can take it." The Widowmaker's voice had been a slow burn, molten, edged in amusement. Frankie had exhaled, lazy smirk curling her lips. "You already know the answer." The first strike had landed with a snap. A kiss of fire on bare skin. Frankie had gasped, not in pain, but in something darker, something deeper. The Widowmaker had watched her, measured her, then struck again. A rhythm, a game, a challenge neither wanted to end. Then, crack. The cane had split in 2. The Widowmaker had gone still, staring at the broken wood in her hands. For a moment, silence had wrapped around them, thick as the Mirage air. Then, Frankie had laughed. Low, throaty, wrecked. "Oh, babe," she had purred, twisting just enough to meet the Widowmaker's gaze, golden eyes wild with something unbreakable. "You really think you broke me?" The Widowmaker had swallowed, fingers tightening around the fractured cane. No, she hadn't broken Frankie. But Frankie, she had just rewritten the game. And now, standing before her once lover, the Widowmaker knew what had to be done. Love was a weakness neither of them could afford. The Mirage didn't allow for survivors. One of them had to fall. She had loved Frankie once. But tonight, she would be the one to end her. Chapter 8. The battle inside and the war above the PNKY Force agent versus her own glitch. The parking lot flickered, the neon warping as the 2 versions of PNKY faced off. The real agent, pink blazer, cowboy hat tilted low, black stiletto boots firm on the pavement. The glitch, same body, same attitude, but wearing black shorts, black sunglasses, a magician's hat. A twisted version of herself, distorted yet perfect. They had locked into a rhythm, a flawless mirror battle, every move countered as if the glitch was reading her mind. The agent gritted her teeth, dodging a swipe of the glitch's light gun, her own hands moving on instinct. This wasn't just a fight. It was a test. "You ain't real, bitch," the real agent spat, her voice rough, breathless. The glitch smirked. "Neither are you." The realization hit her like a gunshot. This wasn't just some Mirage illusion. This was a coded possibility of what she could become. The glitch was a timeline, a path that could be chosen. And she had to choose whether to destroy it or become it. The glitch lunged, twisting in midair, its blade aimed for the agent's throat. But at the last second, the agent didn't block. She let it happen. She let the glitch get close. And in that moment, she reached out, grabbing the glitch by the wrist, and kissed it. The glitch froze, breath hitching. And then, it shattered. Something old was waking up. Something that had nothing to do with Big Pharma. Something from Mars. They had been watching. Not from Neuralink's pharmaceutical empire, but from the galactic government's hidden councils, far beneath the surface of Mars. They had been here long before humans arrived in space, and they had let humans think they ruled. But now they wanted Bae Hefna's secret. Not for control, for power. The cannabis forests, the bioseeds and harvest, the genetic evolution that was happening outside of Neuralink's empire, outside of the pharmaceutical industries. They didn't want control. They wanted the future. And tonight, They were stepping into the war. The first of them descended into the Mirage, stepping through the neon-lit sands. They were beautiful. They were deadly. They had soft, impossibly smooth reptilian skin, deep shades of emerald, jade, and lime. Their eyes burned with yellow and purple sclera, pupils shifting like galaxies in motion. Their long tongues flicked out, tasting the air, catching the scent of the war they had just entered. They moved like queens, their bodies wrapped in barely their silk, shimmering under the Mirage lights. Their presence was electric, seductive, hypnotic. And the first person who saw them? Bae Hefna. She stood on the highest level of the cage, exhaling slowly, pink cigar smoke curling from her lips. Her eyes locked onto the green-skinned goddess walking toward her. A smile spread over Hefna's lips. Well, well, well. Well, well. Well. Well, well, well. What agent? Finally decided to stop watching from the shadows? The reptilian queen smiled back, her voice low, rich, and ancient. You have something we want. Bae Hefna took another slow drag. I always do. The war for the masterclass wasn't just about the baddest bitches in the universe anymore. It was about who would control the future of genetic power itself. And Bae Hefna wasn't about to let it slip away. Well, finally decided to stop watching from the shadows. The reptilian queen smiled back, her voice low, rich, and ancient. You have something we want. Bae Hefna took another slow drag. I always do. The war for the masterclass wasn't just about the baddest bitches in the universe anymore. It was about who would control the future of genetic power itself. And Bae Hefna wasn't about to let it slip away. Chapter 9. Arrival at the PNKY Motel and the first encounter the PNKY Motel from above Loka Lux's ship cut through the void, descending towards the PNKY Motel, its glowing neon edges pulsing against the Mirage's shifting horizon. From space, the motel looked like an abandoned memory, flickering in and out of existence. Green, pink, and blue lights bleeding into the atmosphere, warping like the universe itself was trying to decide if it belonged here. As her dashboard holograms flickered, scanning the terrain below, she saw the black-tinted parking lot, cracked pavement lined with glowing motes of dust. A truck was parked near the entrance, dark and heavy, a beast of a machine standing in contrast to the swirling Mirage. And then she saw her, a woman with short, violet-hued hair, standing in the lot, her body wrapped in glittering metallic lingerie, sheer thigh-highs hugging her legs, a cowboy hat tilted over her face. She was staring at the truck, her hands on her hips, exuding the kind of energy that said she owned the entire scene. Loka Lux smirked. Damn, the girls came dressed to kill. She punched the ship into landing mode. The parking lot brawl continues. The Mirage was still warping from the last fight. The PNKY Force agent stood in the lot, catching her breath, her cowboy hat tipped back slightly, pink blazer still hanging loose over her toned frame. Her black stiletto boots dug into the pavement, her light gun still warm from firing at the Mirage glitch that tried to erase her. But now, she wasn't alone. More figures were moving in the distance. The first of them stepped forward, a reptilian goddess draped in shimmering silks, her emerald skin catching the glow of the neon motel lights, her yellow-purple sclera eyes watching with a hunger that sent a pulse through the air. She wasn't here for a fight. She was here for Hefna's secret. She was here for the cannabis forests. She was here to seduce, manipulate, and destroy. The agent wiped her mouth, tasting blood from the last fight, and narrowed her eyes at the approaching reptilian. You lost, babe, she asked, voice dripping in challenge. The reptilian woman smirked, her long tongue flicking out, tasting the air between them. Not at all. I came to claim what's already mine. The motel lights flickered, as if the Mirage itself was reacting to the tension. Nikita Biscuit finally gets inside the PNKY Motel. The air was thick with electric tension. Nikita Biscuit had officially trolled her way past the receptionist, and now she was sauntering through the lobby like she had already won. Her short black dress clung to her curves, pink fur ball heels clicking against the floor, black hat sitting perfectly over her platinum hair. She was exactly where she needed to be, The place was alive with energy. Holograms flickering, neon walls shifting like they were breathing, and bounty hunters, mirage tricksters, and femme fatales all gathered in small groups, whispering about the cage. Nikita spotted a PNQI hologram transmission flickering in the back corner, a coded invitation to the master class. She licked her lips. About time I got a seat at the table. She started making her way toward it. She didn't notice the figures watching her from the shadows. The PNQI Force agent versus the reptilian queen outside. The PNQI Force agent held her ground as the reptilian woman stepped closer, the mirage rippling behind her, distorting reality in waves. The reptilian skin shimmered in the neon light, her movements so smooth, so fluid, it was almost hypnotic. "Why don't you put that gun down?" The reptilian purred, voice low and sweet, her long fingers tracing invisible symbols in the air. The agent felt her mind pulling away from her body for just a second. Her fingers twitched over the grip of her gun. For a moment, she saw herself through the reptilian's eyes. Bare, vulnerable, kneeling in the soft glow of the neon desert, her will completely gone, waiting to be commanded. The vision was so real she almost gasped. And then, she snapped back to reality. Her trigger finger tightened. "Oh, you a tricky bitch, huh?" She spun, lifting her stiletto-booted leg, kicking up a wave of mirage dust to break the spell. The reptilian queen laughed, her tongue flicking out again, eyes flashing. "Oh, you'll fall soon enough. They all do." The battle for control wasn't just about who was the strongest, it was about who could resist the pull of seduction, the hypnotic lure of the Mirage's illusions. And the PNQI Force agent wasn't ready to lose. She charged forward. The fight had begun. Loka Lux lands and the war expands. Loka Lux's ship finally touched down, kicking up a whirlwind of dust, the engines humming with power. The neon motel lights flickered, catching the reflection of her visor as she stepped down the ramp, adjusting her long coat. She could feel the war in the air. The reptilians had arrived. The PNQI agents were already fighting. And inside the motel, Nikita Biscuit was about to start her own game. Loka Lux smirked as she surveyed the battlefield. "Guess I better find my way inside." The war for Bae Hefna's secret had officially begun. Chapter 10. The Green Zone and the Quantum Underground, the secret of Mirage Farms. The Earth was dead. Everywhere else, a wasteland of sand, dust storms, and ruined cities lost to time. Everywhere except for Mirage Farms. It was the only green zone left, a lush, untouchable oasis hidden in the depths of the Mirage. A place that shouldn't exist, yet did, because of one woman's genius touch, Bae Hefna. Alongside Catalina Calico, she had built the impossible, a cannabis empire that didn't just thrive, it rewrote nature. The plants weren't just growing, they were adapting, regenerating, healing. Their genetic structure had been modified, making them resistant to radiation, pollution, and climate decay. And the secret? Bae Hefna's bioseeds. The last pure genetic code that Big Pharma and the galactic government didn't own. A genetic game changer, programmed to heal, regenerate, and disrupt every system of controlled evolution. That's why Neuralink wanted her erased. That's why the reptilian goddesses wanted to take her place. That's why the Mirage had become a war zone. But the real power of Mirage Farms wasn't just in the bioengineered cannabis forests. It was buried deep beneath them. A hidden underground facility. A Bitcoin mining farm powered by quantum computing. The blockchain had become harder to crack. But Bae Hefna had the new tech, quantum miners. Machines built by PNQI Force engineers, capable of solving the hardest cryptographic problems in seconds. Minting new digital wealth outside of the galactic government's reach. This wasn't just about evolution. This was about power, control, and the future of the free world. And tonight, the war to claim it was about to begin. The arrival of the reptilian goddesses, the air in the Mirage shifted. Not like a glitch. Not like a heat wave. Something older. Something intentional. The reptilian goddesses had arrived. They didn't move like invaders. They moved like they already owned the place. Their green-scaled bodies shimmered under the neon motel lights, their yellow and purple sclera eyes glowing like twin suns. They were beyond human beauty, their skin impossibly soft yet unbreakable, their long tongues flicking out, tasting the air, reading the frequencies of the war zone. They weren't here for Neuralink's pharma bullshit. They were here for Mirage Farms, for the bioseeds, for Bae Hefna's throne. Their leader, a reptilian queen draped in deep violet silks, locked eyes with the PNQI Force agent still catching her breath from the glitch fight. "Move aside, girl. This isn't your war." The agent smirked, adjusting her pink blazer, fingers still gripping her light gun. "Funny, Last I checked, I go where I want. The reptilian queen laughed, stepping forward, her hips moving in a slow, hypnotic sway. You think you can resist me? The air grew thick. The mirage twisted. The agent felt her heartbeat slow, felt the pull, the intoxicating aura of the reptilian's seduction. For just a second, she could see it. Herself, kneeling. Herself giving in. Letting go, becoming theirs. Her fingers twitched. Her breath hitched, and then a gunshot. The illusion shattered. The agent's focus snapped back. And standing behind her, blowing the smoke from her light gun, was Nikita Biscuit. Dressed in her short black dress, pink furball heels, and black hat, she tilted her head, smiling like she hadn't just interrupted a cosmic-level seduction trap. Babe, if you're gonna fall for a bitch, at least make sure she buys you dinner first. The reptilian queen turned slowly, her gaze narrowing. Nikita winked. The war had officially begun. Inside the Piang Kwai Motel, the secret meeting inside, deep in the Piang Kwai Motel's underground lounge, Bae Hefna and Catalina Calico sat in a booth, holographic schematics spread across the table. The quantum mining rigs were active. The bioseeds were growing. But now, they needed to hold the line. Catalina Calico adjusted her tiger print fur coat, tapping a hologram with long, manicured fingers. Hefna, we got a problem. Bae Hefna, exhaling a slow trail of pink cigar smoke, barely glanced at the screen. I know, babe. The war just walked through our front door. Catalina frowned. You ain't worried? Bae smirked, tapping ash into a gold-plated tray. Nah, I've been waiting for this. The neon lights flickered overhead. The Mirage rippled again. And in the distance, the sound of Loka Lux's ship landing, bringing her straight into the chaos. The final pieces were falling into place. The fight for Mirage Farms, the cannabis empire, the Bitcoin quantum mine, and the future of human evolution had begun. And Bae Hefna, she was ready to play. Chapter 11. The masterclass begins. The cage is open. The invitation to power. The neon skyline of the Mirage cracked open with sound as the cage finally unlocked. The air hummed with energy, the ground pulsing beneath their feet like a heartbeat syncing with the cosmos itself. A soft vibration rippled through the air, felt by every fighter, every hustler, every warrior who had answered the call. And then, a voice. Smooth, velvet, unshaken, dripping with power. Bae Hefna's voice. It wasn't just heard. It was felt. Welcome to the masterclass. From the highest level of the cage, Bae Hefna stood at the edge, her pink cigar blunt burning slow between her lips, her crimson bodysuit shimmering under the Mirage lights. Her eyes scanned the battlefield. The Piang Kwai Force agents, the reptilian goddesses, the bounty hunters, cyber glitch fighters, and Mirage tricksters who had come from every galactic slum and digital back alley just to stand here. She took a slow drag, exhaled, then smirked. You bitches ready to learn? The crowd roared. This wasn't just a fight. This was history. The masterclass wasn't given. It was earned. The rules of the masterclass. Bae Hefna raised a manicured hand, silencing the noise. A holographic pink contract unfolded in the air before her, glowing with the terms of entry. Listen up. Her voice sliced through the chaos, sharp and commanding. The masterclass is simple. She turned, pacing along the edge of the cage. You fight for a place at the table. You bleed for a seat in my house. You survive, or you disappear. She blew out another slow drag of smoke. Ain't no do-overs. Ain't no retries. You either level the fuck up or you die a basic bitch. The crowd tensed. They knew this wasn't just a test of strength. This was about mind control, strategy, seduction, war. This was about who was fit to rule. Bae Hefna's gaze flickered toward the balcony where Catalina Calico watched from above, her fur coat draped over her shoulders, eyes scanning the crowd with sharp calculation. Catalina gave her a slow nod. The game was set. The masterclass was beginning. Scene 3, the first trial, the Seduction of Power Trial 1. Hefna's voice echoed through the Mirage. A section of the cage floor split open, revealing a transparent platform below, filled with something dark, swirling, shifting like liquid smoke. A Mirage illusion pool. Bae Hefna tapped her long acrylic nails against her wrist. Let's see who can survive temptation. She snapped her fingers. The first combatants were chosen. A Piang Kwai Force agent, still catching her breath from her last fight. A reptilian seductress, stepping forward with a slow, hypnotic sway. Nikita Biscuit, rolling her shoulders like she had been waiting for this all night. An unknown Mirage hacker, faceless beneath a shifting mask. The challenge. step onto the Mirage pool and hold their minds intact. Whatever they saw in the liquid reflections below them would test their willpower. The strongest minds would emerge untouched. The weakest would lose themselves forever. Bae Hefna grinned. Step forward, bitches. Let's see what you're really made of. The reptilian queen moves in the shadows. While the masterclass unfolded, the reptilian queen was already making her move. She wasn't here for the cage. She was here for Mirage Farms. And the bio seeds hidden underground. She watched from the shadows, her emerald skin glowing faintly under the neon reflections. Her sisters were distracting the PNQI forces, weaving their seductions through the combatants. But she was heading for the real prize. She turned, her golden eyes locking onto Catalina Calico. If she wanted the bio seeds, she had to go through the Tiger Queen of the Mirage first, and Catalina. She was already waiting for her. Inside the Bitcoin quantum facility deep underground, beneath Mirage Farms, the quantum mining rigs hummed with power. Rows of crystalline servers pulsed with data, solving equations faster than any traditional blockchain network. This wasn't just mining for Bitcoin. This was rewriting the system. A PNQI Force technician tapped into the holographic console, watching as the system generated new quantum blocks, untouchable by the galactic government's regulations. A voice crackled through the comms. Status? The tech wiped sweat from her brow. The rigs are stable, but we got a problem. Static. Then. What kind of problem? The tech turned, eyes narrowing as she saw something moving within the holographic blocks. A foreign code. A glitch that shouldn't be there. Her heart dropped. Someone had breached the network, and if they cracked the system, they could erase everything. She reached for her comms again. We got a breach. Someone's inside the network. A voice responded immediately. Who? The tech swallowed. Her fingers hovered over the console, decoding the anomaly within the blockchain. A name appeared in the data stream. And when she saw it, her blood ran cold. I see KWEN. Chapter 12. The masterclass unfolds. Temptation, betrayal, and control. Bae Hefna's pajama rule. The cage pulsed with energy, the mirage rippling beneath it, neon lights reflecting off the smoke-filled air. But Bae Hefna, she was unbothered. Draped in plush silk pajamas, her signature style of comfy chic meets femme fatale, she lounged effortlessly on the floating throne-like platform above the cage. Her robe was open, just enough to show the shimmer of gold chains layered over her décolletage. Her oversized sunglasses perched low on her nose, reflecting the neon war zone below. Her bare feet rested on the edge, toes perfectly pedicured in chrome pink, and her long acrylic nails tapped rhythmically against a golden holo scroll. She was every bit the goddess they whispered about. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to watch them fight for her favor. She took a slow drag from her pink cigar blunt, exhaling as she looked at the contestants stepping onto the Mirage pool. Her voice came smooth, sharp, a melody of dominance and effortless cool. You bitches better give me a show. The Mirage pool. Who will break? The 4 chosen combatants stepped onto the transparent Mirage pool, feeling the liquefied reality shift beneath them. It wasn't water. It wasn't solid. It was pure illusion, a test of willpower and mental dominance. The rules were simple. Survive the Mirage's vision without breaking. Bae Hefna smirked from her throne. You lose control. You lose your spot in my house. Simple. And then, the pool activated. The illusions began. Nikita Biscuit's test, she saw herself draped in diamonds, sitting on a throne made of digital wealth, her face flickering across galactic news feeds. Power, fame, everything she had ever hustled for. But something was off. In the vision, she wasn't herself. She was someone else's puppet. Her fame wasn't her own. Her wealth was a leash. She blinked. No, that's not me. The Mirage pushed harder. She saw herself signing a contract with Neuralink, selling out the PNQI Force, giving up the war for a life of comfort. The vision was so real she almost believed it. Almost. But Nikita Biscuit, she was too much of a hustler to fall for a cheap contract. She smirked at the illusion. Cute. But I don't sign deals I ain't in control of. The Mirage shattered. She passed the test, the PNQI Force agent's test. She saw herself lying on a bed of silk wrapped in the arms of the reptilian queen. The golden-eyed seductress whispered promises in her ear. You don't have to fight anymore. Just let go. Be mine. Be ours. She felt her breath hitch, her pulse slow, her mind fog over. The queen's hands traced over her skin, her long tongue flicking against her throat. A shiver. A pull. A trap. Her fingers clenched into fists. "Oh, bitch, you almost got me." She snapped herself out of it. The illusion cracked. She passed the test. The reptilian seductress's test. She wasn't supposed to be affected by this. She was a hunter, trained in manipulating others, not in being manipulated. But the mirage was cruel. It didn't show her what she wanted. It showed her what she feared. She saw herself on her knees before Bae Hefna. Not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a servant. She saw herself losing the war, becoming forgotten, and for the first time she felt fear. Her breath caught. The illusion latched on. Her vision blurred. And then, she fell to her knees in the mirage pool. The test had broken her. She lost. Bae Hefna exhaled, shaking her head. "Damn, babe, I expected better." She snapped her fingers. The reptilian seductress was ejected from the pool. The first elimination. The reptilian queen versus Catalina Calico deep inside Mirage Farms. The real war was happening. Catalina Calico stood at the entrance to the underground facility, her fur coat draped over her shoulders, golden claws flexing at her fingertips. The reptilian queen stood before her, silk robe swaying, her golden eyes burning with the desire to dominate. "Move, Catalina." Catalina smirked, tilting her head. "You new here, babe. I don't move for nobody." The queen's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "You're in my way." Catalina stepped forward, slow, deliberate. "Nah, you and mine." Then they lunged at each other. A blur of gold and green, claws and silk, teeth and growls. The battle for control over Mirage Farms had begun. Icy Queen's cyber attack deep in the Bitcoin quantum facility. The breach was spreading. Icy Queen's digital fingerprints were all over the blockchain. Her code was rewriting ledgers, rerouting crypto flows, and unlocking hidden vaults of wealth. The PNKY technician tried to shut her out, but it was too late. Icy Queen's voice came through the speakers. A soft, wicked whisper. "You bitches thought you could build wealth without me. That's cute." A single command flashed on the screen. Transfer complete. Icy Queen had just hacked the quantum miners. She now controlled every Bitcoin unit minted under Mirage Farms. This wasn't just a cyber attack. This was a takeover. And the war had just evolved. Chapter 13. The cage gets smaller. The stakes get higher. The masterclass continues. Loca Lux versus herself. The mirage pool pulsed beneath Loca Lux's feet, reality shifting in waves, threatening to pull her under. She had survived the first illusion, but the cage wasn't finished with her yet. "Choose, babe." Bae Hefna's voice slid through the air like a knife wrapped in silk, lounging above them in her crimson silk pajamas, oversized sunglasses, and a smirk that said she already knew who would break next. Lux felt the mirage tug at her consciousness again. This time, it wasn't Mackie. It was her own voice. "You're not supposed to be here." She turned sharply, and there, standing in the rippling neon reflection, was herself. Not an illusion. Not a shadow. A version of her that had never left the moon. This version of her wore racing leathers, a moon-branded jacket with the sigil of her old smuggler crew. Her hands weren't scarred. Her eyes weren't hardened. She looked like she still belonged somewhere. The reflection smirked. "You think these bitches respect you? You're a racer. A hustler. You don't belong in a war." Loca Lux clenched her fists. The mirage was trying to pull her back to who she was before. It wanted her to doubt herself. She saw herself turning back, leaving the cage, going back to Mackie. But was that real? Or was it just a lie the mirage wanted her to believe? Her feet started sinking into the pool. She could feel herself slipping. She was about to fall. And then, a gunshot rang through the cage. The disruption. Nikita Biscuit breaks the illusion. Lux. Get the fuck up. Nikita Biscuit's voice cut through the illusion like a blade. Loca Lux snapped back, gasping, realizing she had been seconds from losing. She turned, spotting Nikita standing at the edge of the mirage pool, her pink furball heels grinding into the neon floor, a smoking pistol in her hand. The mirage around Lux cracked like glass. Her reflection, the version of her that never left the moon, shattered into pixels, vanishing. Loca Lux took a step back, breath heavy, the weight of what almost happened hitting her. Nikita tilted her head, smirking. "You almost let that mirage eat you, babe. You out here trying to break, or you trying to win?" Loca Lux stared at her for a moment. Then she smiled. "I don't break." She stepped off the pool, solid ground beneath her feet again. And just like that, she passed the test. Bae Hefna leaned forward, blowing out a slow trail of pink cigar smoke, watching Lux with newfound interest. "Oh, I like her. She tapped her golden nails against the throne's edge. Let's see if she makes it to the final round. The war for Mirage Farms begins deep underground. Catalina Calico and the reptilian queen circled each other in the dimly lit vault beneath Mirage Farms. The air was thick with holographic projections of quantum blockchain streams, the servers humming with power, controlling the last free Bitcoin wealth in the galaxy. Catalina flicked her golden claws, her fur coat slipping off her shoulders, revealing the tiger-striped tattoos that ran down her arms. Bitch, I don't got time for you. The reptilian queen smiled, slow and predatory. You should. This place? It was never meant for you. She lunged. The two collided, a blur of golden claws and green silk, slamming against the blockchain servers as the entire room shook with their battle. Icy Queen's betrayal. The network is compromised. Above them, in the PNKY Motel's underground tech lab, the system alarms blared. The Bitcoin quantum rigs were under attack. A technician's hands flew across the holo console, trying to patch the breach. The code was rewriting itself. The entire network was rerouting. A message flashed on the screen. Transfer complete. New owner. I see queuing. The tech's face went pale. Oh fuck. She owns everything. In the depths of the Mirage, Icy Queen sat inside her own holographic command room, watching the data shift, sipping from a neon martini glass. Mine now, bitches. She snapped her fingers, and the entire crypto economy shifted under her control. And Bae Hefna. She knew. From her throne above the cage, Bae Hefna's gaze flickered toward the sky. She exhaled, slow, unbothered. Guess I gotta handle this myself. She rose from her seat, slipping off her silk robe, standing now in just a black satin pajama set, gold chains catching the neon glow. The crowd watched in silence, because when Bae Hefna stood up, it meant shit was about to get real. We all want to play with my money. Let's fucking play. The war was no longer just about the master class. This was about who controlled the future. And Bae Hefna, she wasn't about to lose. Chapter 14. Frankie Q's Return, the wild card in the game. Where the hell is Frankie Q? The last time Frankie Q was seen, she was tearing through the Mirage Desert, racing toward a glowing cyber pole that distorted time itself. Then, she disappeared. Some thought she got lost in the Mirage. Some thought she was dead. Some thought she was never real to begin with. But the truth, Frankie was evolving. Frankie awakens. The time loop and the missing hours. A bright neon sun hung over the Mirage, stuck in a never-ending dawn that never quite became morning. Frankie Q lay sprawled across the chrome-slick sand, body aching, the scent of burnt fuel and ozone thick in the air. Her motorcycle lay in pieces beside her, the wreckage still humming with static electricity. Her memories? Glitching. 1 second she had been racing through the Mirage, chasing a pole of pure energy. The next, she was here. She groaned, sitting up, her yellow leather biker pants torn, her skin bruised but healing unnaturally fast. Her head pounded with echoes of voices she didn't recognize. You are not done yet. The war has already begun. Find the cage. Find the house of Hefna. She clenched her jaw, the last thing she remembered before blacking out. A pair of glowing pink eyes staring at her from inside the cyber pole. And then, nothing. But she knew one thing. She had been changed. Her body felt stronger. Faster. More in sync with the Mirage than before. She flexed her fingers, watching a faint trail of neon static flicker over her skin. What the fuck did she just become? She grabbed the half-shattered screen from her bike, flipping it open. The PNKY Motel's coordinates flashed on the display, glowing bright in the desert grid. Guess I gotta crash this party. She smirked, wiping the blood from her lip, and took off toward the cage, barefoot, bruised, and ready for a fight. Back at the cage, the war has changed while Frankie was missing. The entire Mirage had shifted into chaos. Bae Hefna had risen from her throne. The reptilian queen was locked in a deathmatch with Catalina Calico. Icy Queen had taken over the quantum crypto network, controlling the wealth of the Mirage. Loca Lux had survived the illusion pool and was now marked as a true contender. The cage was breaking apart at the seams. And Frankie, she was walking straight into the storm. Frankie enters the cage and immediately fucks things up. As the cage vibrated with tension, the neon sky above cracked open, and Frankie Q arrived. Barefoot, beaten, grinning like she hadn't just been missing for days. The moment she stepped into the PNKY Motel parking lot, everything stopped. Nikita Biscuit, leaning against the bar, froze mid-drink. Loca Lux, still catching her breath from the illusion battle, snapped her head up. Bae Hefna, standing in her silk pajamas, golden chains reflecting the neon haze, lowered her sunglasses. A slow smirk spread over her lips. Oh, this just got interesting. Frankie kicked a piece of broken glass out of her way, cracking her knuckles. Miss me, bitches? Silence. Then, the entire cage roared to life. Frankie was back, and she wasn't here to play. Bae Hefna versus Frankie Q. A test of power. Bae Hefna exhaled slowly, stepping forward. Her robes shimmered, golden tattoos faintly glowing against her bare arms. You got lost, babe. Thought you weren't coming back. Frankie grinned, rolling her shoulders, muscles tense with electricity. Funny. I thought the same thing, but turns out, I got a message. Bae's eyes flickered. A message? From who? Frankie tilted her head. Bitch, I was hoping you could tell me. The crowd murmured. Something wasn't right. Frankie had been missing for too long, and now she was different. Hefna studied her carefully. Then, she laughed. All right, babe, let's find out what the Mirage did to you. She turned to the rest of the cage, final test before the last round of the master class. She pointed at Frankie. Whoever takes her down gets my blessing. The contenders turned, eyes locking onto Frankie like wolves scenting blood. Frankie grinned wider, eyes flashing with something dangerous. Oh, y'all want to play? She stretched her arms. Good. I was getting bored. And then, the final battle for the masterclass began. Frankie grinned wider, eyes flashing with something dangerous. Oh, y'all want to play? She stretched her arms. Good. I was getting bored. And then, the final battle for the masterclass began. Chapter 15. Frankie Q's Awakening. The Bioseeds and the Neuralink Exodus. Frankie's new abilities. The telepathic echo. Frankie Q felt the shift before she even knew what was happening. The moment Bae Hefna marked her as the final test, something inside her clicked. The neon lights around the cage blurred, the voices of the crowd faded, and suddenly, she could hear them. Not just the crowd, not just the contenders, but everything. She felt thoughts like frequencies, vibrating through the Mirage like unseen radio waves. She's different. What the fuck happened to her? I don't like this. She was gone too long. And Bae Hefna, her thoughts were the clearest of all. I need to know what she is now. Frankie staggered for a second, clutching her head. The voices were too much. Then, like flipping a switch, she focused. She channeled the noise. The Mirage reacted to her, the neon glow around her brightening, pulsing in sync with her breath. I can control it. Her heartbeat slowed, and suddenly, she wasn't just hearing thoughts. She was speaking into them. She looked directly at Bae Hefna, and without moving her lips, she sent a message straight into her mind. You want to test me? Be careful what you wish for. Bae Hefna's eyes widened slightly. She wasn't laughing anymore. Frankie Q had just become something else entirely. The Bioseeds and the last free humans. Far beyond the cage, deep inside Mirage Farms, the last Bioseeds were still growing. These weren't just plants. These were living keys to a future outside of control. When Bae Hefna and Catalina Calico had built Mirage Farms, they had done more than just create the last cannabis forests. They had engineered resistance. The Bioseeds weren't just healing plants. They were coded with genetic sequences that blocked Neuralink's influence. Everywhere else in the galaxy, humans were trapped under Neuralink's control. Everywhere else in the galaxy, humans were trapped under Neuralink's control. The moment they installed the implants, they stopped being free. But the ones who stayed on Earth, the ones who refused Neuralink and took in the Bioseeds' genetic technology instead, they had become something else. Something more. Frankie was living proof. The Neuralink Exodus. The humans who chose to stay. Most of humanity had left Earth decades ago. When Neuralink was first introduced, they had marketed it as the future of human evolution. They promised unlimited access to knowledge, immortality through consciousness backups, the ability to live in a shared neural network, free from pain, fear, or death. But what they didn't say, once you connected, you couldn't disconnect. Your thoughts weren't your own anymore. Your emotions could be muted, controlled, rewritten. Your body could be hijacked. The first ones to realize the truth tried to escape, but the system wouldn't let them. Only a small fraction of humanity rejected the implants, the ones who saw the trap before it closed. They fled to the last habitable zones on Earth, places like Mirage Farms. They found Bae Hefna. They found Catalina Calico. And together, they created a new future, one where Neuralink had no power. Now, the Bioseeds were the last hope for a human race that had already lost itself to the machine. But there was one problem. Neuralink knew about it, and they were coming to erase it. Frankie's connection to the bioseeds back in the cage, Frankie's telepathic abilities weren't random. They were a side effect of something deeper. She had been exposed to the bioseeds in ways no one else had. When she vanished into the Mirage, she hadn't just disappeared. She had connected with the energy buried inside the Earth, the last organic code. Now, she wasn't just hearing thoughts. She was feeling the planet itself. The rhythm of Mirage Farms, the power of the cage, the presence of the reptilian queen deep underground, the whispers of the bioseeds warning her. Neuralink is coming. She turned to Bae Hefna. They're on their way. Bae raised an eyebrow. Who, babe? Frankie's eyes flickered with neon static. Neuralink. The entire cage went silent. Bae Hefna tilted her head, exhaling slow. Oh, hell no. The war just got bigger, the Mirage cracked. Something massive was moving in the sky above. Bae Hefna adjusted her sunglasses, looking up. A black monolith ship had just entered the Mirage atmosphere, its metallic surface covered in glowing Neuralink insignias. The ship wasn't here to negotiate. It was here to erase the last free humans on Earth. Inside the command center of the ship, a hologram of the Neuralink overlord flickered to life. A synthetic, eerily calm voice echoed through the air. Frankie Koo, you have been identified as an anomaly. You will surrender. Frankie grinned. Nah, I don't think I will. The ground beneath her hummed, responding to her new power. Bae Hefna rolled her shoulders, cracking her neck. Bitches want to come into my house. All right, let's give them a proper welcome. The war was no longer just about the master class. This was a battle for the future of humanity itself. And Frankie Koo. She was the key. Chapter 16. The Suzuki Club, the Ring, and the Lost Warrior. The Suzuki Club. The Ring and the Lost Warrior, the Suzuki Club. The dark side of the Mirage, deep inside the neon-lit heart of the Mirage, far from the Piankoi Motel, the Cage, and Mirage Farms, there was another place. A place where rules were illusions, pain was currency, and power was won in blood. The Suzuki Club. Unlike the Cage, which had been built for spectacle, the Suzuki Club was built for survival. The floors were stained with history, the air thick with the scent of burning synthetic tobacco and desperation. It was the kind of place where warriors came to bet their lives, where the highest stakes were whispered in the back rooms, and where the ones who lost never left. And tonight, the club was expecting someone special. A galactic warrior princess, one of the last of her kind arriving to claim her place in the Mirage War. But what she didn't know, she would never make it to the fight, because IC Queen was waiting for her. The arrival of the galactic warrior princess, the ship... She had trained her entire life for this, to fight in the cage, to win the ring, to challenge the queens of this world and carve her name into legend. But when she stepped out of her ship, expecting the cage, expecting the battlefield, she didn't find a war. She found Icy Queen and El Tears waiting for her inside the Suzuki Club. Icy Queen's mind-fucked torture. Doxia wasn't afraid. She had fought in the exiled arenas of the Andromeda Belt. She had killed warlords with her bare hands. She had burned her name into the history of dying planets. But she had never fought Icy Queen. She walked into the club ready for war. And that was her first mistake, because there was no fight waiting for her. Only a chair, straps, neural cables, holographic restraints floating like chains. An Icy Queen smiling, already inside her head before Doxia even knew she had lost. You really thought you were going to fight in my city. Babe, this ain't your war. Doxia tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. Her arms were still free, her legs unbound, but her mind, it was already under Icy Queen's control. The illusion begins. Breaking a warrior, Icy Queen took a slow drag from her neon cocktail, fingers tapping against the holo console embedded in her chair. El Tears, lounging beside her, grinned, adjusting his rings. She's strong, Queen. You sure you can break her? Icy didn't look away from Doxia's wide, furious eyes. She smirked. Babe, they always break. And then she activated the illusion. Doxia's reality fractured. And suddenly, she wasn't in the Suzuki Club anymore. She was home. Back on her war-torn planet, standing in the ruins of her kingdom, her armor dented, her sword slick with the blood of enemies. Except, she wasn't holding a sword. She was holding chains. She wasn't a warrior. She was a slave. The voices of her ancestors whispered in her ear. You lost. You never made it to the cage. You never left your planet. You were always weak, Doxia roared, gripping her head, trying to shake the voices. This isn't real. This isn't real. But the mirage pressed deeper. Her body felt heavier, her muscles drained. Her warriors, her sisters, her entire legacy, gone. In their place, a collar, wrapped around her own throat. And when she looked up, she saw herself. A version of herself that had never left. You never even tried to fight for the ring. And for the first time in her life, Doxia felt fear. The fall of a contender back in the real world, Icy Queen and Eltiers watched from the outside. Doxia sat perfectly still, body rigid, breath short. But her eyes told the story. They flickered, twitched, her mind fighting something it would never escape. Icy leaned in close, whispering into her ear. You lost before you even got here, babe. Doxia's body convulsed. A single tear slipped down her cheek, and then she stopped fighting. She stopped moving. She just sat there, staring into nothing. Eltiers exhaled, rubbing his jaw. Damn, you really did it. Icy Queen stood, brushing off her black cyber silk bodysuit, flicking a speck of dust from her diamond cuffs. Bitch never had a chance. She turned to Eltiers. Send a message to Bae Hefna. Tell her we intercepted a challenger. She smirked. And tell her I'm ready to negotiate. Eltiers grinned, already pulling up the holocom. The cage was about to get a whole lot messier. And Icy Queen. She was holding all the cards. Chapter 17. Signals from the Dead and the Icy Queen's Game. The Lost Warrior's final transmission. The Suzuki Club's neon glow flickered in and out, like it was unsure whether it existed or not. Inside, Doxia sat frozen in the torture chair, her body limp, her mind still locked inside Icy Queen's neural hellscape. Eltiers watched from the corner, adjusting the rings on his fingers. She's fried. Icy Queen smirked, exhaling slow. Yeah, but not useless. She ran her fingers over the interface linked to Doxia's implant, siphoning out the last transmissions from her mind. Somewhere in her subconscious, Doxia was still screaming. But in reality, she was gone. Her final message, before the torture, before the illusions, before her mind shattered, was still encoded in her Neuralink. Icy Queen tapped into the data stream. And then, across the mirage, a broadcast hijacked every unprotected signal. A garbled voice, barely human, barely alive, echoed into the void. Sorry. Didn't know where to put up. What year is this? Outside the Suzuki Club, holograms across the city glitched, flashing fragments of Doxia's last memory. A corridor. A motel balcony. The blurred shape of a woman in white. Then, a distorted scream. They fried her, but she didn't say where. They fried her, but she didn't say where. That girl only had Pian Kwai in her head. Ha ha ha. And just like that, the signal died. Eltiers sucked his teeth. Damn, that's messy. Icy Queen stretched, unbothered. Let them wonder. She turned, striding out of the room, leaving Doxia's hollowed-out body slumped in the chair. Her next move. It was time to send a message to Bae Hefna. Bae Hefna's private network is breached. The Pian Kwai motel's underground servers hummed. Rows of neon-lit monitors casting sharp reflections against the checkered floor. Bae Hefna sat in a gold-trimmed reclining chair, still in her silk pajamas, oversized sunglasses shielding her gaze. Catalina Calico stood behind her, arms crossed, watching the holo screens. Icy's making moves. BAE didn't respond at first. She just took a slow sip from her diamond-rimmed cup, exhaling like she had all the time in the world. Then, one of the screens glitched violently. A new transmission hijacked the feed. And there she was, Icy Queen, lounging in a velvet chair, black silk robe hanging loose, her violet lips curled in amusement. Hope I ain't interrupting beauty sleep, Hefna. BAE Hefna didn't blink. Babe, you can't interrupt what never stops. Icy chuckled. Then she leaned in, resting her chin on her palm. So, here's the deal. She tapped a button, and the corrupted memory of Doxia's last moments played on the screen. The torture, the erased thoughts, the voice that would never speak again. Icy shrugged. She came here looking for the ring, but she ain't even make it to the cage. Bae's lips pressed together, not because she was surprised, but because Icy was making this a spectacle. And why exactly are you telling me this? Icy Queen tilted her head. Because, babe, I think it's time we talk about who really owns this war. Silence. Then Bae Hefna smiled, the kind of smile that meant nothing good. All right, Queen, let's talk. Elsewhere in the Mirage, a signal wakes something up far from the Pian Kwai motel, beyond the Suzuki Club, in the icy wastelands of the Mirage's outer rim. Something shifted beneath the surface. The broadcast of Doxia's last words had reached further than anyone realized, and it had woken up her. A figure stirred in the frost, naked, blinking against the pale blue light of the frozen terrain. Her lips parted. Her mind was half awake, half trapped in the echoes of a dream. Her breath curled in the air as she whispered to no one, "This better be good. I just woke up." She stretched, body moving like she was just reborn. Her eyes flickered open, glowing silver against the ice. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know why she had been awakened. But she knew one thing. Somewhere out there, her enemies were waiting, and she was ready to play. Chapter 18. The Judas deal and the sleeping one awakens. Bae Hefna walks into the setup. On purpose. Bae Hefna had been in the game too long to not recognize a setup, an icy queen. She was too predictable. The message was sent, the trap was set, and Bae Hefna still walked straight into it. Why? Because there was something delicious about watching a bitch think she's in control. Hefna stepped into the private upper lounge of the Suzuki Club, still in her silk pajama set, dripping gold and confidence, her sunglasses tilted just enough to catch the neon reflections. Icy Queen was already waiting, lounging like she was the queen of the fucking universe. Behind her, Eltiers was posted up near the bar, pretending to be relaxed, but his fingers were twitching. He was thinking about the money, the greens, the power shift, because if Icy won this war, Eltiers knew he'd get paid. But he also knew that currency. That shit was about to get real tricky, and tricky was dangerous. The Judas deal Icy Queen smirked as Bae Hefna strolled in like she owned the place. Which, technically, she did, but Icy was trying to change that. She gestured toward the plush crimson chair across from her. "Take a seat, babe. Let's talk empire." Bae Hefna sat, crossing one leg over the other, exhaling slow. "Empire, huh? I thought this was just a little playground beef." Icy chuckled, swirling her drink. "Oh, it was. But then Neuralink pulled up, and now it's bigger than just us." She leaned in. "You know what happens when they take over, right?" Bae nodded. "They erase." Icy's lips curled. "Exactly. So what if we stop playing cute and start thinking bigger?" She flicked her fingers. A hologram lit up between them, showing Mirage Farms, the crypto network, the bioseeds, and the control hubs spread across the desert. Icy leaned forward. "You keep thinking small, Hefna. Fighting over the cage, the master class, the Pien Kwai force. But I'm thinking whole world domination." Bae Hefna took another slow drag from her cigar, letting the silence sit. Then she smiled. "Bitch, I know you setting me up." Icy Queen froze for half a second. Eltiers let out a low, nervous laugh from the bar. "Ayo, y'all crazy, man." Icy recovered, tilting her head. "Oh," Bae leaned in, whispering, "I know you Judas, babe, but I still want to see how far you think you can take this." She sat back, sipping her drink like she hadn't just called her own betrayal to her face. Icy Queen grinned, but her fingers twitched. Bae Hefna was daring her to play the game. And Icy wasn't about to back down. The sleeping one wakes, lost in a new world far from the Suzuki Club, out in the frozen wastelands of the Mirage. The mystery woman walked alone. She had been asleep for years. No signals, no updates, no access to the networks that ran the world. She had been left behind, and now she was waking up to a world that moved without her. Her body was still adjusting, her limbs numb, her mind catching fragments of old memories. She didn't know her name anymore, didn't know where she was supposed to be. She just knew she had to move. She had to find the world again. And so she walked, barefoot, naked against the cold skin shimmering under the pale mirage sun. Somewhere ahead, she could hear the faint hum of a city, of life. And if she was walking toward the Suzuki Club, then someone was about to get their reality shaken the fuck up. Eltiers thinking in currency, and it might kill him back in the Suzuki Club. Eltiers was sweating. Not visibly, not out loud, but in his head. Shit was getting complicated. Bae Hefna was still untouchable. For now. Icy Queen thought she was on top, but Hefna already saw through her. Neuralink was closing in. And Eltiers? Eltiers was thinking about the money. He had been stacking crypto for years, flipping Mirage profits into off-grid wealth. But if Neuralink took over, if the bioseeds were destroyed, if the quantum economy collapsed, then that money was going to mean nothing. And for the first time in a long time, Eltiers realized he might be betting on the wrong side. Icy Queen glanced at him, sensing something shift. She knew he was thinking too much. And in a world like this, that could get a man killed. Scene 5, the final play. Who will make the first move? Icy Queen knew her window was closing. She had Bae Hefna right where she wanted her. Or did she? Bae Hefna, still too calm, too knowing, let out a sigh, adjusting her pajama top. So, what's next, babe? You want to betray me now, or you want to wait till I finish my drink? Icy Queen's smile was sharp. I don't betray, babe. I upgrade. The tension was razor thin. The betrayal was already in motion. The only question now, who was going to strike first? And outside, walking closer and closer to the Suzuki Club, the mystery woman from the ice was almost here. And when she arrived, this whole power game was about to change. The Judas betrayal and the ghost of the pastel tears places his bet on himself. The weight of the deal sat between them like a ticking bomb. Icy Queen smirked, fingers tapping against the crimson holo console, waiting for Bae Hefna to take the bait. But Bae wasn't biting. She was watching, calculating, letting Icy play herself. And Tears, he was watching both of them, thinking in currency. But the problem with betting on money could disappear. And if Neuralink took over, the bio-seed crypto would be worthless. His entire empire erased with the stroke of a system reset. For the first time, Tears wasn't betting on the greens. He was betting on survival. And that meant he was about to switch sides. Scene 2. Icy Queen moves first. The betrayal begins. Icy Queen saw the shift in Tears before he even spoke. She could feel it. Like a glitch in the system, an algorithm breaking apart before it collapses. She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table, fingers interlocked. So, babe, you in or you out? Bae Hefna exhaled, blowing smoke into the air, unbothered. Then she smiled. Bitch, I was never in. And that was when Icy Queen made her move. A bladed cyber wire shot from her wrist, slicing toward Bae Hefna's throat. But Bae was already leaning back, dodging smooth as silk, her gold chains clinking as she smirked. Ayo, you really tried it. That's cute. Icy lunged again, the neon blade flashing in the low light. And that's when Tears pulled the trigger. A single shot rang out. Icy Queen staggered back, clutching her shoulder, her face twisting in shock and rage. Oh, you a Judas. Tears lowered the smoking gun, stepping back toward Bae Hefna. Nah, babe. I just know a sinking ship when I see one. Icy Queen's eyes burned. She had been betrayed in the same deal she was setting up. But she wasn't done yet. With a flick of her wrist, she sent a silent transmission to her backup plan. And somewhere deep in the Mirage, the sleeping woman arrived. The ghost of the past enters the Suzuki Club. The doors to the Suzuki Club swung open, and the entire room fell into a heavy silence. A figure stood in the doorway, barefoot, half-drenched in ice melt, her skin still shimmering with cold stasis residue. She had been off-grid for years. No signals, no data, no connection to the system. Icy Queen had been searching for Wi-Fi while she was out here unplugged. But now, she had plugged herself back in. The bouncers stepped forward, ready to block her path. But before they could move, she raised a single hand. And the entire club glitched. Lights flickered, screens scrambled. Holo feeds froze mid-broadcast. Tears felt the static run up his arms. What the fuck? Bae Hefna stayed seated, her sunglasses reflecting the flickering neon. Oh, hell no. Icy Queen clutched her bleeding shoulder, her smirk returning. Guess y'all forgot about her. The woman stepped forward, her silver eyes locking onto Bae Hefna. And then, she spoke. What year is this? The forgotten one speaks. Bae Hefna exhaled, tilting her head. Babe, that depends. She uncrossed her legs, leaning forward slightly. What year were you expecting? The woman's lips parted, blinking slowly like she was processing missing time. I was... frozen. She looked at Icy Queen, then at the neon around her. I didn't know where to wake up. The words hung in the air. Tears rubbed his jaw, his mind racing. Icy Queen finally pushed off the bar, stepping toward the woman. Took you long enough, babe. The woman's silver eyes flickered toward her. And for a moment, just a moment, Icy Queen hesitated, like she wasn't sure if this was still her game anymore. Because the woman wasn't just another pawn. She was a ghost from a war that was supposed to be over. And now, she was here to collect. The end of the game, or the beginning. Bae Hefna stood, finally facing Icy Queen head-on. So, this your new play? Icy Queen rolled her neck, cracking her knuckles. Nah, babe. This is the past coming back to kill you. The forgotten woman didn't deny it. She just stood there, watching, waiting. Bae Hefna adjusted her silk pajama sleeves, exhaling slow. Then let's get this over with. The Suzuki Club buzzed with tension, neon bleeding into the walls like electricity before a storm. Eltiers could feel it. The money didn't matter anymore. This wasn't about deals, crypto, or control. This was about survival. And survival, that meant someone wasn't walking away from this. Chapter 20. The house always wins Icy Queen's checkmate. Or is it? The Suzuki Club pulsed with tension, the air thick with neon static. Icy Queen sat back, blood dripping from her shoulder, but her smirk never wavered. She thought she had played the game. She thought she had won. But Bae Hefna was still smiling. Still untouched. And that scared Icy Queen more than the bullet in her arm. Eltiers, still holding his smoking gun, shifted uncomfortably. So, what now? Icy Queen let out a low laugh, wincing as she pressed a hand to her wound. Now, babe, we finished this. She snapped her fingers. And the entire club shut down. Lights, power, sound, gone. Then the neon emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in a blood-red glow. And from the shadows, the reinforcements arrived. The House of Blue moves in silence from the outside. The Suzuki Club looked abandoned, a forgotten piece of the Mirage, hidden in the static between worlds. But inside, it was a fortress. The House of Blue had been waiting, watching, preparing. Icy Queen wasn't just here to take down Bae Hefna. She was here to erase her entirely. And Bae Hefna, she knew it, but she still let it happen. Because she wasn't playing to win. She was playing to break the game. The Forgotten One enters the fight. The mystery woman had arrived, dripping in frost, half awake from a slumber that had lasted too long. She walked into the Suzuki Club, ignoring the guards, her silver eyes locked on Icy Queen. Icy's smirk faltered. For the first time, she didn't look in control. No way. The woman's voice was low, distorted, like it was trying to reconnect with itself. You tried to wipe me out. Her fingers twitched, static crackling along her skin. But you forgot one thing, Queen. Icy swallowed. And what's that, babe? The woman smiled. I never needed a signal to find you. Eltier's last gamble Eltiers had seen a lot of shit. But this was too much. Bae Hefna was still standing, still grinning like she had already won. Icy Queen was losing control fast. And now, this ghost from the past was walking in like she owned the place. He had one chance to walk out alive. One last bet to place. And as much as he hated to admit it, Bae Hefna had never lost a game. He slipped the gold-plated drive into his sleeve, data from the Mirage crypto network flashing across the screen. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. Because if there was one rule in the Suzuki Club, it was that the house always wins. And Bae Hefna, she was the fucking house. The final move. Bae Hefna Ascends Icy Queen had played every card she had. She had rigged the board, stacked the deck, and brought in the best assassins money could buy, and none of it mattered. Because Bae Hefna, she had been 10 moves ahead the whole time. She adjusted her silk pajama sleeves, stepping forward into the red neon light. Her voice was low, sharp, dripping in finality. Babe, you ain't built for this throne. Icy Queen tensed. You sure about that? Bae smiled. Yeah. 'Cause if you were, I'd already be dead. Silence. A single beat of static hung in the air. Then, the lights went out, and the war for the Mirage ended in darkness. Chapter 21. A freak on a leash and the art of seduction. The master reclaims. Her pet, the Suzuki Club, was nothing but flickering neon and static tension. Icy Queen had spent her life playing puppeteer, pulling the strings, breaking the weak. But tonight, she was the one caught in a leash. The mystery woman stepped forward, her frost-kissed skin glistening under the dim red glow. Unbothered, untouchable. She had no interest in Bae Hefna. No interest in the war for the Mirage. She was here for one thing. Her pet. Icy Queen's breath hitched, her body instinctively taking a step back, like some old programming had just kicked in. But the mystery woman, she stalked forward, slow and deliberate. You really thought you could leave me behind, babe. Icy swallowed, but her voice still had an edge. Bitch, I upgraded. The mystery woman smirked, tilting her head slightly. No, baby. She lifted a single hand and Icy Queen's body stiffened, frozen, locked in place. She curled her fingers and Icy fell to her knees. You didn't upgrade, you just ran. Icy's fingers dug into the floor, her breath sharp, erratic. The power dynamic had flipped. And for the first time, she wasn't the hunter. She was the pet. Say it. The mystery woman leaned down, one hand wrapping around Icy's chin, forcing her gaze up. Who's your master, baby? Say it. Icy's lips parted, her mind screaming at her to fight. But her body remembered. You are. The mystery woman grinned, brushing a cold fingertip down Icy's throat. That's right, babe. And now? Her grip tightened. You're coming home. Icy Queen didn't resist. She couldn't, because some chains weren't meant to be broken. Bae Hefna's escape. Regeneration and pleasure. Bae Hefna wasn't dumb. She knew when to walk away from a scene. With Icy Queen officially someone else's problem, there was only one place she needed to be. Mirage Farms. Away from the game, away from the war. Catalina Calico was already waiting for her. The lab, the seduction, the reset. The Mirage Farms lab was a sanctuary, a secret oasis where bioseed technology merged with pleasure, indulgence, and the regeneration of the mind. Bae Hefna had spent too long fighting. She needed to be reborn. Catalina stood over the reclining velvet lab chair, dressed in nothing but a sheer silk robe, her caramel skin glowing under the dim amber lights. You look like you've been through it, babe. Bae exhaled, stretching her gold-draped arms above her head, silk pajamas slipping open slightly at the chest. You have no idea, Catalina smirked, running a cool metal instrument along Bae's collarbone, tracing slow, delicate pattern. You ready? Bae licked her lips, tilting her head slightly. For the regeneration or for you? Catalina chuckled. Both. Bae Hefna had spent too long fighting. She needed to be reborn. Catalina stood over the reclining velvet lab chair, dressed in nothing but a sheer silk robe, her caramel skin glowing under the dim amber lights. You look like you've been through it, babe. Bae exhaled, stretching her gold-draped arms above her head, silk pajamas slipping open slightly at the chest. You have no idea. Catalina smirked, running a cool metal instrument along Bae's collarbone, tracing slow, delicate patterns. You ready? Bae licked her lips, tilting her head slightly. For the regeneration or for you? Catalina chuckled. Both. The lab hummed softly, biometric systems scanning Bae's energy, her vitals, a biosignature, the Mirage-infused oils, a blend of canna, avocado, and coconut extracts, were warmed to body temperature. Catalina dipped her fingers into the golden liquid, then trailed them down Bae's exposed stomach, slow, teasing. Bae's eyes fluttered shut, a sharp inhale escaping her lips. You always know how to touch me right, babe. Catalina leaned down, whispering against her ear. That's 'cause I know what you need. The oils began to sink into Bae's skin, the nanotech activating, stimulating cellular regeneration while simultaneously igniting pleasure receptors. It was more than just healing. It was a reawakening, a surrender to sensation, to rebirth, to something deeper than power. Bae arched slightly, her silk pajama top sliding further open, her body welcoming the restoration. The scent of vanilla, cannabis, and heat filled the air. She could feel herself resetting, stronger, sharper, deadlier. Fuck, babe, Bae whispered, her breath heavy. Catalina smiled, watching her come back to life beneath her fingertips. Let go, Hefna. Let me handle you. And for the first time in a long, long time, Bae Hefna let someone else take control. The world keeps turning. Icy Queen was gone. Claimed, collared, controlled. Bae Hefna had escaped, regenerating, resetting, indulging. El Tears disappeared, watching from the shadows, waiting for his next move. The Mirage, still alive, still pulsing, still waiting for the next storm. And Frankie Koo. She was out there, still watching, still waiting for her moment to strike. Because if there was one thing for certain in the Mirage, the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. Chapter 22. The Oasis of Rebirth and the Ultimate PNKY Force, the Mirage Farms. Sanctuary Bae Hefna had won the war. For now, Icy Queen was chained, reclaimed by the one who had truly owned her. The cage was no longer her battlefield. The Suzuki Club was yesterday's problem. She needed time, space, somewhere untouchable, somewhere to heal, to create, to manifest something greater. That's why she was here. Mirage Farms. The last true oasis on Earth. A bio-coded sanctuary, hidden from Neuralink systems, from the reptilian goddesses, from the eyes of the universe itself. It was hers alone. The ritual of rejuvenation. Bae Hefna stood at the edge of her private estate, the soft heat of the Mirage sun kissing her skin, the silk of her rosé-colored pajamas clinging to her body as she moved barefoot across the terrace. She exhaled slowly, inhaling the scent of cannabis blooms, coconut nectar, and bioseed vapors. The water in her private infinity pool shimmered, laced with cocoa oil infusions, canna extracts, and the essence of the last untouched bioseeds in existence. She peeled off her pajama top, letting it slip to the ground. She wasn't just resting. She was resetting. She slid into the warm, silk-infused water, closing her eyes, feeling the oils seep into her pores, regenerating, strengthening, seducing her body into its next evolution. The water wrapped around her like a second skin, each ripple sending a wave of euphoria through her veins. This wasn't just The water wrapped around her like a second skin, each ripple sending a wave of euphoria through her veins. This wasn't just self-care. This was the real work. The search for the ultimate Pianquai force. Bae Hefna didn't just come here to recover. She came to create, to find her next army, to discover the ultimate Pianquai force in the universe. She stretched her arms along the pool's edge, letting her fingers trace patterns in the water, thinking, envisioning, summoning. The Pianquai force had always been elusive. A legend, a whisper, a sisterhood of warriors, assassins, femme fatales, and digital gods who existed beyond time. And now, Bae Hefna was going to bring them back. She needed them. For the next war, for the next empire, for the next version of herself. The art of seduction. Manifesting the future, she moved to her private suite, the walls lined with glowing hollow scrolls, screens projecting data on the bioseeds, the cocoa oils, and the next phase of the Mirage economy. A single pink laptop rested on her bed, the screen glowing softly. She stretched out against the satin sheets, her body still glistening from the oils, and flicked open a connection to the private Pianquai network. Somewhere out there, the Pianquai force was watching, waiting. She knew how to pull them in. She leaned back, letting the holocam frame her perfectly, her lips parting, her fingers teasing over her skin, a soft laugh escaping. "Who's gonna pull up? I'm bored," the message sent. And across the galaxies, they were already answering. The universe responds. The Mirage Farms systems flickered, holo alerts lighting up as the first transmissions returned. "She's summoning us. The Pianquai force hasn't assembled in centuries. If she's calling, that means the war isn't over." The messages poured in, encrypted, untouchable, coming from every corner of the digital underworld. Somewhere in the ice plains, a sleeping warrior woke up. Somewhere on the moons of Mars, an exiled queen pulled on her gloves. Somewhere deep in the dark sectors of the Mirage, a masked assassin smirked at her screen. The Pianquai force was real, and Bae Hefna had just called them home. Chapter 23. The Return of the Pianquai Force. The first arrival. The phoenix of the void, the Mirage sky was silent, the atmosphere thick with bio-coded energy pulsing from the depths of Mirage Farms. Bae Hefna lay in the velvet glow of her private chamber, still drenched in the cocoa oil infusion, the effects of the bioseed rejuvenation sinking into her bloodstream. She could feel the shift. She had sent out the call, and now they were coming. The first to answer was the Phoenix of the Void. Her ship sliced through the upper stratosphere, descending toward Mirage Farms like a falling ember, its hull pulsating with molten light. The Phoenix had been in exile for too long, moving between black holes, navigating forbidden sectors of the digital underworld, and surviving where no one else could. She wasn't just a warrior. She was legend, the last of the Fireborn, a lost sect of assassins who had once protected the balance of the old world, before it burned. She touched down on the holopad, stepping out with slow, precise movements. Her eyes scanned the oasis. She was here for one reason, to see if Bae Hefna was still worth fighting for. Bae Hefna's rebirth. Bae Hefna sat up, stretching her arms above her head, gold-trimmed silk pooling around her curves. She could feel the bioseeds working inside her, rewiring, evolving, unlocking. This wasn't just regeneration. It was ascension. Her skin was softer but stronger. Her senses were sharper, heightened. Her mind felt infinite. She wasn't just healing. She was becoming something new. Catalina Calico leaned against the doorway, watching her with knowing amusement. Bitch. Glowing. BAE let out a low, satisfied sigh, running her fingers through her hair. That's 'cause I'm better than ever, babe. Catalina smirked, stepping forward, her fur coat slipping off her shoulders as she reached out to touch Bae's freshly renewed skin. So, what now? BE grinned, sliding out of bed with a slow, deliberate motion. Now we see who's ready to play. She grabbed a silk robe, wrapping it around her, the soft pink fabric gleaming under the hollow lights. The Pien Kwai force was coming, and she needed to greet them properly. A ghost in the water. Not all calls should be answered. Mirage Farms was untouched, hidden from the world. But something was wrong. Deep beneath the oasis, in the water purification chambers, something stirred. Something old. Something that had been watching. A distorted shadow moved through the submerged tunnels, slipping between reflections, unseen by the security grids. It had heard Bae Hefna's call, but it wasn't coming to fight for her. It was coming to consume her. The second arrival, the seductress of the sands beneath the Mirage's twin moons, another warrior approached. This one didn't arrive in fire. She arrived in silence. She moved through the bioseed fields like a ghost, her footsteps leaving no trace, her presence barely registering in the system. She was the seductress of the sands, an illusionist, a mind thief, a creature of pure temptation. Her body was wrapped in obsidian silk, her long nails tracing patterns in the air as she moved. She didn't fight with strength. She fought with desire, and she was here to test Bae Hefna's control. Would she be the queen they all whispered about? Or was she just another ruler waiting to fall? She reached the edge of the infinity pool, watching the reflection of Bae Hefna lounging by the water. And then she spoke. I came to see if you still know how to play the game, Hefna. Bae Hefna tilted her head, studying her through half-lidded eyes. Babe, I invented it. The seductress smiled, slipping into the water without a sound. The game was on. The last transmission. Neuralink is watching far away, beyond Mirage Farms, beyond the reaches of the Pien Kwai force. The Neuralink AI was processing new data. The Mirage had been too quiet for too long. And now it was alive again. New signals, new activity, new threats. The system locked onto a single name. Bae Hefna, located, target status, unregulated. A cold, synthetic voice whispered through the dark. Proceed with elimination. Chapter 24. The first test of the Pien Kwai force. The Phoenix of the Void versus Bae Hefna. The air inside Mirage Farms pulsed, thick with energy. The bioseeds hummed, reacting to the presence of something old and powerful. Bae Hefna sat at the edge of her infinity pool, her skin still glistening from the cocoa oil infusion, her silk robe slipping off one shoulder as she sipped a crystalline blue drink. Across from her, the Phoenix of the Void stood, arms crossed, watching, waiting, testing. She didn't kneel. She didn't move. Because she wasn't here to serve. She was here to see if Bae Hefna was still worth following. You called us back. Her voice was low, smooth, but there was an edge behind it, a challenge. Bae Hefna tilted her head, amused. I did, and you answered. Phoenix smirked. I wanted to see if the legend was real. She took a step forward, the embers of her presence flickering like heat waves against the Mirage air. So tell me, Hefna. Her golden eyes flashed. Can you still hold the throne? Bae set down her drink, stretching, her golden chains catching the sunlight. Babe, you about to find out. The seductress of the sands moves in while Phoenix tested Bae with raw power. The seductress of the sands played a different game. She didn't announce herself. She didn't challenge. She just slipped into the pool, moving like a ripple of silk, her obsidian dress clinging to her body before disappearing into the water. The temperature changed immediately. Bae Hefna felt it before she even looked. A presence. A pull. A slow, sensual invasion of the mind. She smirked. Oh, you play like that, huh? The seductress emerged from the water without a sound, floating beside Bae, her nails tracing the surface in slow, deliberate circles. I play to win, babe. Her voice slithered like liquid gold, wrapping around Bae's senses. Let's see if you remember how to lose. Bae turned slightly, locking eyes with her. I don't lose. The seductress smiled, her fingers moving closer. Then let's have some fun. The water rippled. The game began. The unseen threat beneath Mirage Farms, while Bae Hefna indulged in power and pleasure, something stirred beneath the surface. Deep in the forgotten tunnels below Mirage Farms, where the bioseeds rooted into the last untouched earth, an old frequency reactivated. A presence, unseen, unwatched, waiting. It had felt Bae Hefna's call, but it wasn't loyal to her. It was something else. Something older than Neuralink. Something beyond the Piang Kawai force. And it was waking up. Neuralink's assassin arrives. Far above the Mirage, in the cold void of space, a ship entered the stratosphere. No insignia, no records, no crew, only a single passenger, a Neuralink assassin, a creation built for one purpose, to erase Bae Hefna from existence. Inside the cockpit, the assassin sat in perfect stillness, plugged into the ship itself, her mind processing thousands of potential outcomes. The AI voice whispered through her interface. Target located. Mirage Farms is unprotected. Proceed with elimination. The assassin's fingers twitched. Her eyes opened, black, hollow, empty. Then, the ship disappeared into the Mirage sky. The hunt had begun. Where is Frankie Koo? Somewhere beyond the Mirage, in a place where time unraveled and rewrote itself, Frankie Koo drifted in the in-between. Not yet, but when she did, the game would never be the same again. Chapter 25. The Bitcoin attack and the seduction of Bae Hefna. The lurking threat beneath Mirage Farms. Deep beneath Mirage Farms, past the bioseed chambers, beyond the underground oasis of rejuvenation, something wasn't right. The Bitcoin wallet, the last truly untraceable wealth system in the galaxy, was under attack. It had always been untouchable, coated in layers of quantum security, protected by the first bioblockchain rooted into the very DNA of Mirage Farms. A currency of the free, existing beyond the grasp of Neuralink and the galactic government. But now, it was being rewritten. Something was forcing its way in. Data streams glitched, the entire quantum mining system flickering like a dying star. Security warnings flashed across the underground monitors. Intrusion detected. Neuralink protocol override. Engaged. Funds reallocating. A silent war was happening below Mirage Farms. One that a silent that Bae Hefna couldn't afford to lose. Because if Neuralink took control of she'd lose her freedom. And that was the one thing Bae Hefna would never surrender. The AI Guardian's voice crackled, warped with static, its once sleek interface corrupted by an unseen force. Warning, unregistered anomaly detected. System integrity compromised. The glowing red security grid flickered, failing in patches like a dying heartbeat. Then, just for a moment, the AI spoke in a different voice. A voice BAE had never programmed it to have. They are coming for you. The system shut itself down. Neuralink's message. The first demand. A hologram blinked to life inside the private security chamber. A Neuralink operative, faceless and synthetic, appeared on screen. Its voice was calm, patient, like it already knew how this was going to end. Its voice was calm, patient, like it already knew how this was going to end. BAE, still draped in her pink silk robe, barefoot, her skin still glistening from the cocoa oil rejuvenation, took a slow sip of her drink. She didn't flinch, didn't react. She let them speak first. You are in possession of illegal wealth, a system outside of control, a structure that threatens order. We will grant you one chance. Turn over Mirage Farms, surrender the Bitcoin network, comply, and you will live. BAE tilted her head, running a single finger down the side of her glass. Then she exhaled, slow and deliberate, before leaning forward. Her voice was low, smooth, dangerous. Babe, you must be new here. She let the words linger. The Neuralink operative said nothing. Then, Bae smiled. I don't do compliance. She reached forward, tapped the holo interface, and cut the connection. Just like that. A war had just been declared. And Bae Hefna, she was already winning. The seductress of the sands makes her move while the Bitcoin war raged below. The real battle was happening in the water. Bae Hefna turned from the security feed, stepping back toward the edge of her infinity pool, her robe sliding lower, barely clinging to her skin. The seductress of the sands was still there, waiting, watching, gliding through the water like a slow-moving shadow. She had felt the shift. She knew what was happening, but she didn't care. Because this wasn't her war. She was here for something else. She rested her arms on the edge of the pool, looking up at Bae Hefna through half-lidded, knowing eyes. "You're a dangerous woman." Bae smirked. "Babe, that's not news." The seductress drifted closer, her fingers tracing slow, deliberate patterns across the water's surface. "You ever get tired of it?" Bae arched an eyebrow. "Of what? Winning?" The seductress smiled. "Of carrying everything on your own. A beat, a pause. The first crack in the armor." Because that was a real question. The seductress didn't wait for an answer. She moved, slipping out of the water in one smooth motion, standing inches from Bae, water cascading down her curves. "You're always playing, always controlling. Always making the next move before anyone else even knows they're on the board." She reached out, fingers just barely grazing Bae's wrist. "What happens when you let someone else play?" Bae didn't pull away. She could feel the heat between them, the pull, the tension. But this was a different kind of war. A test not of power, but of control. And Bae Hefna, she never lost control. Or did she? The war above and the war below above Mirage Farms, the Neuralink assassin's ship hovered in the darkness, waiting, watching. The assassination command had been issued. Proceed with elimination. The target? Bae Hefna. Below Mirage Farms, in the bioseed chambers, the Bitcoin firewall was collapsing. Neuralink's forces were pushing in. The Mirage wasn't safe anymore. And inside the infinity pool, between two of the most powerful women in the universe, the real question wasn't who would win. It was who would surrender first. The seductress leaned in, her breath warm against Bae Hefna's skin. "Do you even know what it feels like to let go?" Bae's lips parted. She almost answered. Then, a warning alarm blared through Mirage Farms. Intruder detected. Hostile inbound. The spell broke. Bae Hefna's gaze sharpened, her body tensing, instinct taking over. The seductress of the sands. She just smiled, stepping back into the water. "Guess playtime's over." Bae exhaled sharply, rolling her neck. "Nah, babe, it's just getting started." And outside, the Neuralink assassin landed. Ready to end the Queen of the Mirage once and for all. Chapter 26. Magic in the Cage and the Art of War. Bae Hefna's rehearsal. Seduction as a weapon. Bae Hefna knew how to wield power, but real power wasn't just about brute force. It was the art of the tease, the ability to make a warlord kneel without ever drawing a blade, the way she could own a room just by breathing in it. And in the cage, under the Mirage sun, she was practicing. She stood in the center of the octagonal arena, the floor beneath her glowing with holographic reflections of her own image. Every step she took, the lights shifted, responding to her energy. Her pink silk pajamas clung to her frame, the satin catching the artificial light as she moved in slow, deliberate rhythms. She wasn't just dancing. She was casting. Her magic wasn't spells. It was a deep, hypnotic influence, a fusion of pheromonal science and ancient alchemy, a power that pulled people into her orbit. The way her hips rolled, the way her fingers trailed the air, the way her eyes locked onto the unseen audience, commanding them without a word. The cage was empty for now, but soon it would be filled with contenders, challengers, spectators, and she would own them all. Because seduction wasn't just about desire, it was about control. She ran her fingers through her long platinum waves, exhaling slow, her lips parting just enough to let the Mirage feel her presence. She was training for a war that didn't require weapons. Because once they stepped into her domain, they were already hers. The arrival of the next Piang Koi Force member. As Bae Hefna practiced her craft, a new arrival was making her way through the Mirage Dunes. She was known as the Widowmaker, a woman whose lovers never survived her, not because she killed them, but because they died without ever touching her, consumed by the obsession, the hunger, the need to possess something that could never be owned. She had been watching. And now, she was here. The Widowmaker stepped onto the grounds of Mirage Farms, her body wrapped in sheer black mesh, golden tattoos glowing softly beneath. She didn't need to announce herself. Bae Hefna had already felt her. She stopped mid-motion in the cage, tilting her head toward the sky. A slow smile played on her lips. Finally, someone interesting. The assassin slips through the Suzuki Club race. While Bae Hefna built her empire, Neuralink was moving in silence. The assassin had already landed, but instead of attacking directly, she infiltrated through the Suzuki Club. The government didn't want a war. They wanted a spectacle. So they did what they did best, made it a race. The Suzuki circuit was lighting up, the underground betting scene going wild, everyone placing bets on who would make it out alive. What they didn't know, one of the racers wasn't here for the game. She was here for Bae Hefna. Underneath the helmet, beneath the sleek black race suit, the Neuralink assassin was already tracking the entry points into Mirage Farms. And as the race began, engines roaring, neon lights flashing against the metallic sand. She smiled, because she wasn't here to win. She was here to get inside. Scene 4, the rejuvenation ritual. Pure euphoria. While the assassin raced toward Mirage Farms, Bae Hefna was still sinking into her magic. After the cage session, she had retreated back to her private oasis, the ultimate Pian Kwai pleasure pool. The cocoa oil infusion pools were heated just below body temperature, creating an effect that blurred the line between floating and melting. The oils were engineered with bioseed properties, enhancing pleasure, relaxation, and regeneration all at once. The moment she slid into the water, she felt it, the slow dissolve of tension, the soft hum of bioelectric currents against her skin, the feeling of becoming something beyond human. She stretched out, arms floating, her hair spreading like silk beneath the water. Above her, the sky was open, endless, untouched. For now. She closed her eyes, letting her body absorb the pleasure, the power, the transformation. Because when she emerged, she wouldn't just be Bae Hefna. She would be something more. Scene 5. The Widowmaker joins the game. The Widowmaker stepped into the oasis chamber, watching from the shadows. She saw Bae Hefna, submerged, wrapped in indulgence, in self-worship, in absolute power. And she smiled. Because she wasn't here to fight. She was here to see if Bae Hefna could resist her. She slipped her shoes off, stepping forward, her fingers grazing the surface of the water. Bae Hefna didn't open her eyes. She didn't need to. She already knew. The Widowmaker leaned down, whispering, not to her, but to the space between them. You don't fear losing. Her voice was silk and venom. But do you fear being owned? The air was thick, pulsing. Bae Hefna finally opened her eyes. She smiled. Bae Hefna finally opened her eyes. She smiled. Babe, let's find out. And just like that, the game began. The assassin breaks through the gate back at the Suzuki Club. The race had ended. The Neuralink assassin had done what she needed to do. She had accessed the Mirage Farms security codes. And now, she was inside. The last firewall was down. Bae Hefna was vulnerable. And the Widowmaker? She was the perfect distraction. As the Neuralink assassin stepped into the Mirage Farms compound, silent as a ghost, unseen by the security drones, unregistered by the bioseed scans, she whispered into her comms. Target located. Preparing for termination. Chapter 27. The showdown begins. La Pian Wei, Nikita Biscuit and the assassin's game. The assassin arrives at the Pian Kwai motel. The Neuralink assassin was already in position. Draped in black leather, fishnets clinging to toned legs, a cowboy hat tilted low, she was an illusion in motion, moving through the mirage like she had always belonged. Her red modified pistol was primed, synced to her Neuralink system, locked onto her target. Bae Hefna, but first, she needed to clear her entry, and that meant going through La Pian Kwai and Nikita Biscuit. The Pian Kwai motel parking lot was silent, only the distant hum of neon signs flickering against the sand. La Pian Kwai crouched low, licking her lips as she loaded up her handgun, the smooth metal slipping into her grip like second nature. Swoosha. She pointed it toward the mirage sky, smirking. Who dat? She had been hoping it was Nikita Biscuit, but Nikita wasn't coming. Not anymore. Because someone else had already made their move. Nikita Biscuit's last bet inside the Pian Kwai motel reception. Nikita Biscuit leaned against the counter, swirling a glass of something deep, dark, and expensive. Her short black dress clung to her body, her pink furball heels tapping lazily against the floor. She was waiting. Not for La Pian Kwai, not for Bae Hefna, not for any of the usual players. She was waiting to see who would fold first. Because in the Mirage, the ones who played too long always lost. The ones who knew when to cash out. They survived. And Nikita, she was done playing. She adjusted her white cat-eye glasses, glancing at the motel entrance as a shadow appeared in the glass. Her lips parted in a slow, knowing smile. Well, ain't you a bad bitch? The assassin stepped inside. And just like that, the final game began. La Pian Kwai versus the assassin outside. La Pian Kwai moved first. She rolled to the side, pistol raised, boots digging into the sand, the pink glow of the neon lights bouncing off her shades. "You trying to pull up, bitch?" The assassin said nothing. She just smiled, her gun already lifted. A single shot rang out. La Pianqui dodged at the last second, the bullet barely grazing past her shoulder, burning through the air like a silent warning. "Oh, we doing this. Bet." She fired back. The bullets danced through the mirage, each shot a heartbeat between them, a game of reflexes, of control. La Pianqui wasn't just fast. She was lethal. But the assassin? She wasn't playing to win. She was playing to distract. Because while La Pianqui was dodging bullets, inside the Pianqui motel, Nikita Biscuit was already making a move. Nikita Biscuit's last play, Nikita watched the assassin through half-lidded eyes, her fingers still wrapped around her drink. She could feel the energy shifting. The Mirage was bleeding. Bae Hefna was the main target. But that wasn't her problem. Not anymore. She turned toward the security feed behind the counter, watching as the Bitcoin data streamed in. The numbers were glitching. Neuralink was pulling the wealth in. Bae Hefna was about to lose everything. And Nikita? She wasn't about to be on the wrong side of that bet. She reached into her black clutch, pulling out a single gold-coated drive. A backdoor key. A way out. She hesitated. For the first time, she hesitated. Because she knew once she inserted that drive, once she aligned with Neuralink, there was no going back. She licked her lips, paused. Then, she slid it into the system. The Bitcoin fluctuated, stalled, shifted. Then, it was gone. And Nikita Biscuit. She had just sold Bae Hefna out. She lifted her glass, toasting her own betrayal. To the next bitch in charge. And outside, the fight wasn't over yet. La Pianqui's last stand. The assassin was done playing. She switched her aim faster than lightning, landing a single precise shot. La Pianqui felt the burn before she heard it. Her body hit the ground, her pistol skidding across the sand. Her vision blurred, but she still smirked, spitting pink-tinted blood into the dirt. "Bitch, you lucky I was feeling nice tonight." The assassin stepped forward, gun still raised. "Not luck, babe. Precision." La Pianqui's fingers twitched toward her second weapon. But the assassin? She just shook her head. "Nah, we're done." She turned, walked away, because her job was inside the Pianqui motel. La Pianqui lay there, watching her disappear through the door, her body burning, but her mind still sharp. This ain't over. And deep down, she knew the real war was just beginning. Chapter 28. The takeover begins. Who's really in control? Bae Hefna's reflection. The calm before the storm. Bae Hefna floated effortlessly in the Mirage Farms' infinity pool, the scent of canna-infused oils and desert nectar swirling around her. The world outside was on fire. Neuralink was closing in. Bitcoin was slipping through her hands. The assassin was already inside. And Nikita Biscuit, that bitch had just betrayed her. But Bae Hefna wasn't stressed. She stretched out on the yellow crescent float, letting the warmth soak into her skin, her mind drifting between the past, the present, and what came next. Because when you were always 10 steps ahead, you had the luxury of letting the enemy think they were winning. She smirked, running a wet finger down her collarbone. Outa all my frenemies. I wonder. She glanced toward the sky. Who's gonna pull up? Because someone always did. And this time, she was ready to see who still played the game. The assassin's move. A bullet and a betrayal inside Mirage Farms. The air was still. The assassin moved like a glitch in the system, her red modified pistol steady in her grip. She had infiltrated without a single alarm. Now, she just needed to get the perfect shot. She crouched against the wall, sliding a holo screen into place, tracking the layout of Bae Hefna's estate. Target locked. No interference. Elimination in 3, 2. A voice cut through her Neuralink feed. Target compromised. You're not the only one in play. Her fingers twitched. What do you mean? Someone else is inside. Someone just stole the Bitcoin ledger before you could complete the job. The assassin's breath hitched. Who the fuck was moving ahead of her? And then it clicked. Nikita Biscuit. That bitch double-crossed the double-crossers. The assassin smirked. Oh, this just got interesting. She stood up, gun still locked in place. If Bae Hefna was about to be taken out, she sure as hell wasn't letting some scammer get the last laugh. La Pianqui ain't done yet back at the Pianqui motel. The sand was stained with blood. La Pianqui lay flat, her breath heavy, one hand pressed against the wound in her side. She had been down. But she wasn't done. The assassin had left her for dead. Big mistake. She rolled over, groaning, reaching for her gun. Her fingers twitched over the smooth grip of the pistol. She exhaled, pulling herself to her knees. Oh, this bitch really thought she got me. She pushed up, pain rippling through her body, but rage fueling her faster. Bae Hefna was in trouble. And La Pianquai. She wasn't about to let the Mirage fall without a fight. She stumbled forward, pistol in hand. Round 2, bitch. And this time, she wasn't missing. The Widowmaker's test. Will Bae Hefna yield? While war erupted across Mirage Farms, Bae Hefna was still in the water. Still waiting. Still unbothered. Because she wasn't just waiting for an attack. She was waiting for a challenge. The Widowmaker stepped onto the edge of the pool, her black mesh bodysuit clinging to her curves, golden tattoos glowing under the Mirage sun. She watched Bae, studied her, measured her. They all think they can take you. Bae Hefna didn't open her eyes. I know. It's cute. The Widowmaker smirked. And what if I was here to take something too? La Pianquai's last stand. The assassin was done playing. She switched her aim faster than lightning, landing a single precise shot. La Pianquai felt the burn before she heard it. Her body hit the ground, her pistol skidding across the sand. Her vision blurred, but she still smirked, spitting pink-tinted blood into the dirt. Bitch, you lucky I was feeling nice tonight. The assassin stepped forward, gun still raised. Not luck, babe. Precision. La Pianquai's fingers twitched toward her second weapon. But the assassin? She just shook her head. Nah, we're done. She turned, walked away, because her job was inside the Pianquai motel. La Pianquai lay there, watching her disappear through the door, her body burning, but her mind still sharp. This ain't over. And deep down, she knew the real war was just beginning. Chapter 28. The takeover begins. Who's really in control? Bae Hefna's reflection. The calm before the storm. Bae Hefna floated effortlessly in the Mirage Farms infinity pool, the scent of canna-infused oils and desert nectar swirling around her. The world outside was on fire. Neuralink was closing in. Bitcoin was slipping through her hands. The assassin was already inside. And Nikita Biscuit, that bitch had just betrayed her. But Bae Hefna wasn't stressed. She stretched out on the yellow crescent float, letting the warmth soak into her skin, her mind drifting between the past, the present, and what came next. Because when you were always 10 steps ahead, you had the luxury of letting the enemy think they were winning. She smirked, running a wet finger down her collarbone. Outa all my frenemies. I wonder. She glanced toward the sky. Who's gonna pull up? Because someone always did. And this time, she was ready to see who still played the game. The assassin's move. A bullet and a betrayal inside Mirage Farms. The air was still. The assassin moved like a glitch in the system, her red modified pistol steady in her grip. She had infiltrated without a single alarm. Now, she just needed to get the perfect shot. She crouched against the wall, sliding a holo screen into place, tracking the layout of Bae Hefna's estate. Target locked. No interference. Elimination in 3, 2. A voice cut through her Neuralink feed. Target compromised. You're not the only one in play. Her fingers twitched. What do you mean? Someone else is inside. Someone just stole the Bitcoin ledger before you could complete the job. The assassin's breath hitched. Who the fuck was moving ahead of her? And then it clicked. Nikita Biscuit. That bitch double-crossed the double-crossers. The assassin smirked. Oh, this just got interesting. She stood up, gun still locked in place. If Bae Hefna was about to be taken out, she sure as hell wasn't letting some scammer get the last laugh. La Pianquai ain't done yet back at the Pianquai motel. The sand was stained with blood. La Pianquai lay flat, her breath heavy, one hand pressed against the wound in her side. She had been down. But she wasn't done. The assassin had left her for dead. Big mistake. She rolled over, groaning, reaching for her gun. Her fingers twitched over the smooth grip of the pistol. She exhaled, pulling herself to her knees. Oh, this bitch really thought she got me. She pushed up, pain rippling through her body, but rage fueling her faster. Bae Hefna was in trouble. And La Pianquai. She wasn't about to let the Mirage fall without a fight. She stumbled forward, pistol in hand. Round 2, bitch. And this time, she wasn't missing. The Widowmaker's test. Will Bae Hefna yield? While war erupted across Mirage Farms, Bae Hefna was still in the water. Still waiting, still unbothered. Because she wasn't just waiting for an attack, she was waiting for a challenge. The Widowmaker stepped onto the edge of the pool, her black mesh bodysuit clinging to her curves, golden tattoos glowing under the Mirage sun. She watched BAE, studied her, measured her. They all think they can take you. Bae Hefna didn't open her eyes. I know, it's cute. The Widowmaker smirked. And what if I was here to take something too? Bae finally opened her eyes, tilting her head. Babe, you don't strike me as the type to take anything, she smirked. You want me to give it to you. The air tightened. The Widowmaker stepped into the water, slow, controlled, eyes locked onto BAE. You think you know everything. Bae Hefna leaned back, floating, stretching her arms out over the water. I don't think. I do. The Widowmaker moved closer, the water rippling between them. Then why are you still waiting? Bae smirked. Because I like watching you work for it. Their eyes locked, power shifted, a silent, unseen battle began. Because this wasn't about violence. This was about who would break first, and Bae Hefna, she never broke. Or did she? The Bitcoin network collapses. Nikita Biscuit's last laugh inside the control chamber of Mirage Farms. Nikita Biscuit was exactly where she wanted to be. She leaned back against the holo terminal, licking her lips as she watched the numbers shift. The Bitcoin ledger? Gone. Bae Hefna's last freehold of wealth? Transferred. She smirked, adjusting her white cat-eye sunglasses. Oh, babe, you thought you were the only bitch in charge? She tapped the screen, sending out a final transmission. Game over, Hefna. Hope you kept a plan B. And just like that, Mirage Farms' economy collapsed. The PNY force was broke. The Bitcoin was gone. And Bae Hefna? She was about to find out what happens when you lose everything. Chapter 29. The Fall of an Empire and the Rebirth of a Legend. The Bitcoin collapse. Bae Hefna's empire crumbles. Bae Hefna felt the shift before she saw it. The bio-coded Bitcoin network, gone. Neuralink had seized everything. Her wealth, her influence, her empire, all that power, all that control, slipping through her fingers like mirage sand. She was officially broke. But Bae Hefna didn't panic. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just smiled, because she knew something Neuralink didn't. You could take the power, but you could never take Bae Hefna. The Bitcoin heist. Nikita Biscuit's ultimate betrayal. Nikita Biscuit swirled a glass of dark liquor, watching the Mirage economy crumble in real time. Bae Hefna was about to lose everything. Neuralink's override was 80% complete, 20% left. She licked her lips, staring at the holo terminal. 10% left. High-stakes tension. The security systems were fighting back, flashing emergency codes. Mirage override detected. Nikita felt the sweat on her palms, a race against time. If Bae noticed now, it was over. Then she hesitated. For the first time, she hesitated. 5% left. Fuck it. She tapped the screen. Transfer complete. The entire Mirage shifted. The Bitcoin ledger vanished. She smirked, tilting her sunglasses. Game over. Hefna, she tilted her head toward the sky, exhaling slowly, the neon stars above Mirage Farms reflecting in her golden eyes. All right, bitches, let's play. The Assassin versus La Pianquoi, a gunfight under neon skies. La Pianquoi was bleeding out, but still standing. The Assassin was locked in, unshaken, gun raised. The two of them faced off in the dusty ruins of the Pianquoi Motel, neon signs flickering behind them. She smirked, tilting her sunglasses. Game over. Hefna, she tilted her head toward the sky, exhaling slowly, the neon stars above Mirage Farms reflecting in her golden eyes. All right, bitches. Let's play. The Assassin versus La Pianquoi, a gunfight under neon skies. La Pianquoi was bleeding out, but still standing. The Assassin was locked in, unshaken, gun raised. The two of them faced off in the dusty ruins of the Pianquoi Motel, neon signs flickering behind them. La Pianquoi smirked, rolling her shoulders, pistol spinning in her grip. Damn, babe. You really thought you had me, huh? The Assassin didn't blink. I don't think. I execute. Boom. A shot rang out. La Pianquoi dodged, rolling low, returning fire. The two women moved like phantoms, bullets slicing through the Mirage air, each step calculated, precise. The fight was brutal, unforgiving, and in the end, only one of them was walking away. The Assassin lunged forward, gun aimed point blank, but La Pianquoi was faster. She twisted, dropped low, fired one perfect shot. Bang. The assassin staggered, hand flying to her side. Blood. A wound. The first time she had ever been hit. La Pienqua grinned, licking her lips. "Oh, babe, you slipping." The assassin growled, eyes narrowing. She wasn't done yet, and neither was La Pienquaye. The Widowmaker's test, who breaks first. Bae Hefna was still in the oasis pool, still watching, waiting. The Widowmaker had moved closer, her fingers barely grazing the warm, scented water. She was testing, pushing, waiting for Bae to yield. But Bae Hefna never yielded. She stretched, exhaling slow, her wet hair cascading down her back, her silk robe half undone. She smirked. "Babe, you really think you can break me?" The Widowmaker's eyes flickered, gold against the mirage light. "Not break you." She leaned in, whispering against Bae's ear. "Own you." The words sent a ripple through the air. A shift, a challenge, and Bae Hefna. She never walked away from a challenge. She turned her head, lips barely an inch from the Widowmaker's, breath hot, teasing. "Then, babe, let's see who owns who." The space between them snapped. Desire and war, tangled together, neither backing down, neither breaking, neither surrendering. Because this was more than pleasure. This was domination. And the one who gave in first, lost. Nikita Biscuit's escape. Running with the money, Nikita walked out of the control room, sunglasses perched low, her furball heels tapping against the floor. She had done it. She had stolen the entire Mirage economy. Bitcoin, gone. Wealth, gone. Bae Hefna's empire, gone. Now all she had to do was disappear. She stepped outside, the Mirage whined whipping against her, her car waiting, engine running. She reached for the door. A gun clicked. She froze. A shadow stepped forward. La Pienquai, bleeding, pissed, and holding a pistol to her head. "Where the fuck you think you going, babe?" Nikita smirked, adjusting her sunglasses. "Somewhere rich." La Pienquai cocked the gun. "Nah, babe, you ain't going nowhere." Frankie Q returns. A storm in the Mirage, and then, just as the world collapsed, just as Mirage Farms fell apart, just as Bae Hefna was losing everything. A storm ripped through the skyline. Engines. Lightning. A shockwave of neon. And then, Frankie Q crashed back into the Mirage. Her cyberbike roared, kicking up dust, her body glowing with something different. Something new. Something no one had ever seen before. She skidded to a stop, standing up, breathless, transformed. Her eyes flickered, half human, half something else. She had been somewhere else. She had seen something no one else had, and now she was back. She looked around, saw La Pienquai, saw Nikita, saw the war breaking out, saw Bae Hefna still wrapped in a battle of seduction. She smirked. "We all bitches miss me." Silence. The wind howled, and just like that, the war had truly begun. She looked around, saw La Pienquai, saw Nikita, saw the war breaking out, saw Bae Hefna still wrapped in a battle of seduction. She smirked. "Y'all bitches miss me?" Silence. The wind howled, and just like that, the war had truly begun. Chapter 30. Power, Seduction, and the Mirage Reborn. The Mirage Playground. Frankie Q's return in the dunes. The dunes stretched out endlessly, a mirror to the sky, the Mirage blurring reality with fantasy. Frankie Q's boots dug into the wet sand, her body still pulsing from the transformation, from the unknown power she had just awakened from. She was back, but she wasn't the same. She dropped down, placing her hands flat against the reflective surface of the Mirage floor, feeling the energy beneath it shift. Every time she had left, it had pulled her back. Every time she had tried to outrun the chaos, she had become part of it. And now, she was ready to own it. She smirked, tilting her head toward the dark figure by the pole, draped in black latex, watching her with sharp eyes. The Widowmaker. "Took you long enough to come back, babe." Frankie licked her lips, stretching her arms, feeling the power humming beneath her skin. "Bitch, I never left." The Widowmaker raised an eyebrow. "Prove it." The game had officially begun. A dance of power, the Widowmaker versus. Frankie the pole stood between them, reflecting the Mirage's golden dusk, the sky stretching open like an invitation to something untamed. Frankie Q ran her fingers along the metal, feeling the heat, the charge, the memory of all the women who had used it before her. The Widowmaker leaned in closer, her breath warm, teasing. "Show me what you learned while you were gone." "Bitch, I never left." The Widowmaker raised an eyebrow. "Prove it." The game had officially begun. The dance of power, the Widowmaker versus Frankie the pole stood between them, reflecting the Mirage's golden dusk, the sky stretching open like an invitation to something untamed. Frankie Q ran her fingers along the metal, feeling the heat, the charge, the memory of all the women who had used it before her. The Widowmaker leaned in closer, her breath warm, teasing. "Show me what you learned while you were gone." Frankie grinned. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed the pole, her body flipping effortlessly, a perfect blend of strength and seduction, control and surrender. Her legs wrapped around the metal, her heels clicking as she spun, every movement a deliberate spell cast into the Mirage. The Widowmaker watched, her pupils dilating. She had played this game with many. She had broken stronger women than Frankie. But there was something different now. Frankie wasn't just performing, she was owning. And that was dangerous. The ground war, La PNKY and Nikita Biscuit's final standoff back at the PNKY motel. Nikita Biscuit's back was against the wall, literally. La PNKY had her pistol aimed, her body still bleeding from the fight with the assassin, but her hands steady. "You played yourself, babe." Nikita didn't flinch. She just smirked, adjusting her white cat-eye sunglasses. "Nah, I played the game better than you." She slid her hand inside her furball clutch, gripping a hidden device. "La PNKY, the movement. Try it, and I'll blow your pretty little brains out." Nikita paused, the air tightened. One wrong move, one bad decision. And one of them wasn't walking away from this. "Bitch, you really want to kill me over some Bitcoin?" Nikita teased. La PNKY licked her lips. "Nah, babe. I want to kill you cause I don't like you." And that was when Nikita made her move, the Widowmaker's test. Who breaks first? Back in the dunes, Frankie dropped from the pole, landing gracefully, power radiating from every inch of her body. The Widowmaker hadn't looked away. "So, what's next?" Frankie teased, rolling her neck, muscles still electric from the performance. The Widowmaker stepped forward, closing the distance between them. "Now, I see how much you can take." She reached out, gripping Frankie's chin, tilting her face up. It wasn't a threat, it was a dare. And Frankie, she didn't back down. "Babe, you better come hard, cause I don't break easy." The tension cracked like lightning. Neither willing to submit, neither willing to lose. This wasn't just seduction, this was war. And one of them was going to fold first. The fall of Nikita Biscuit back at the PNKY motel. La PNKY fired first. Bang. The bullet tore through Nikita's side, spinning her backward, her sunglasses flying off her face. She hit the ground, her furball heels kicking up dust, her breath short and ragged. She blinked up at the neon ceiling, coughing, groaning. La PNKY stood over her, pistol still raised. "Bitch, you ain't as fast as you thought." Nikita smirked, blood on her lips. "And you ain't as smart as you thought." La PNKY frowned. "The fuck you mean?" Nikita grinned, her fingers tapping against the device she had slipped into her palm. A detonator. She had one last play left, and if she was going down. She was taking the Mirage with her. She pressed the button. The entire PNKY motel trembled. The walls shook. A final failsafe Nikita had coded into the Bitcoin mainframe was activating. And La PNKY, she had just run out of time. Bae Hefna's choice, rebuild or revenge. As the PNKY motel exploded in the distance, Bae Hefna felt the shift. Bae Hefna exhaled slowly, rolling her shoulders back, her face as still as a platinum mask. No tears, no hesitation. But beneath the neon glow, her fingers curled, gripping the gold rings on her hand just a fraction too tight. The pole where Frankie used to dance shimmered under the club's dim lights, a ghost of movement flickering in the reflection. Bae's gaze lingered for half a second, then she snapped away, turning on her heel. No looking back. Whatever she had lost was already behind her. Her empire was gone. Her wealth was gone, and now she had two options, rebuild or burn everything down. She exhaled, staring at the Mirage horizon, the last bit of golden light fading behind the dunes. She was not the same woman she had been. She was something else now. She turned her head, locking eyes with the Widowmaker. "You still want to own me, babe," the Widowmaker smirked. "Bitch, I think you're finally free." And just like that, Bae Hefna made her decision. The Mirage was about to change forever, and this time, she wasn't playing by anyone's rules but her own. Chapter 31. The Aftermath and the Rise of the New Order. The Mirage burns. Who survived? The explosion at the PNKY motel had changed everything. What was once a sanctuary of power, seduction, and rebellion was now a war zone. Smoke curled against the mirage sky, reflecting neon pinks and electric blues against the sand. The echoes of Nikita Biscuit's betrayal still pulsed through the air. La Piang Kwai pushed herself up from the ground, coughing, covered in dust and debris. She was alive. Barely. She gripped her gun tighter, her knuckles white, her breath shallow. And as she scanned the wreckage, Nikita was gone. That bitch ran, she growled, wiping blood from her lips. And then she saw it, a faint set of tracks leading into the dunes. Nikita wasn't dead. She was running. La Piang Kwai smirked. Not for long. And with that, she limped forward, following the trail. The hunt had begun. Bae Hefna and the Widowmaker. Who owns who? While the mirage crumbled, Bae Hefna was still in the oasis, still locked in a silent war of seduction and dominance with the Widowmaker. She had lost everything. No money, no empire, no power, and yet she still wasn't kneeling. The Widowmaker traced a single finger along the surface of the water, watching Bae like she was waiting for something. Bae leaned back against the edge of the pool, completely unbothered, her silk robe sliding off one shoulder. So, babe, you still think you own me, the Widowmaker smirked, tilting her head. Nah, but I think you might like losing for once. Bae chuckled, low, rich, amused. Bitch, you really don't know. No. The Widowmaker leaned in closer, her lips brushing just over Bae's ear. Then prove it. Bae turned her head sharply, their mouths barely an inch apart, tension crackling in the air. It wasn't just about power anymore. It was about who would yield first. And Bae Hefna. She never yielded. Or did she? The air between them snapped like static. And that was when the alarms went off. The assassin's final move. The target is still alive. The Neuralink assassin had been shot, bleeding, but not dead. She had one mission left. Kill Bae Hefna. She moved through the smoke of Mirage Farms, her red modified pistol raised, her breathing steady despite the pain. Her body was failing, but her programming never did. She reached the private oasis, stepping forward, her gun aimed at Bae Hefna's head. It's over. Bae didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even seem surprised. She just sighed, rolling her neck like she was bored of the moment. Babe, I don't lose. The assassin narrowed her eyes, finger tightening on the trigger, and then Frankie Q struck. A flash of neon light, a crack of energy, and suddenly the assassin wasn't standing anymore. She was on her back, pinned, her weapon tossed across the sand. Frankie loomed over her, her body pulsing with something unnatural, something beyond human. She tilted her head, smirking down at the assassin. Oh, babe, you really thought this was going to be easy. The assassin tried to move, but she couldn't, because Frankie was holding her down without touching her. The air around them shimmered, like the mirage itself was bending to Frankie's will. The Widowmaker stepped forward, watching closely. Bae Hefna finally stood, stretching her arms, completely unbothered. Took you long enough to show up, babe. Frankie grinned. Miss me. Bae licked her lips, stepping forward, her silk robe barely clinging to her body. I don't know yet. Let's see what you got. Frankie's eyes flashed, the glow intensifying. Then let's play. And just like that, the real war began. Chapter 32. Reclaiming the Mirage. Blood, power, and seduction. Frankie Q's evolution. What has she become? Frankie Q was back. But she wasn't the same woman who had disappeared into the Mirage. She had become something else. Something bigger. Something untouchable. The air around her vibrated, the reflection in the Mirage floor shifting as if reality itself was adjusting to her presence. She straddled her matte black cyber bike, neon rims still glowing, her breath slow, measured, controlled. The Widowmaker watched from the pole, eyes sharp, intrigued. She had seen power before. She had broken many who thought they were untouchable. But Frankie felt like a storm waiting to happen. Frankie licked her lips, swinging her leg off the bike, stepping onto the shimmering surface beneath her. Bitch, what you staring at? She teased. The Widowmaker's smirk deepened, trying to decide if you're a goddess or just another problem. Frankie tilted her head, eyes flashing. Babe, I can be both. The war for the throne. Bae Hefna's next move. Bae Hefna wasn't just watching anymore. She had played the long game. She had lost everything. Her Bitcoin wealth, her empire, her control. And yet, she was still here. Still the most dangerous woman in the Mirage. She leaned back in the VIP lounge of the underground Suzuki Club, a lit cigar between her fingers, slow tendrils of smoke curling into the air. Across from her, a man in a Hawaiian shirt sat, turning a cigar of his own between his fingers. His eyes watched her carefully. He had seen too many power players fall, and now he was watching to see if Bae Hefna was one of them. She exhaled, letting the silence stretch. Then, she smiled. "You ever bet against me, babe?" The man chuckled, leaning back. "Not yet, but I'm wondering if I should." BAE took another slow drag, golden eyes gleaming in the low neon light. "Babe, you already lost the moment you doubted me. The war for the Mirage wasn't over. It was just about to start again." And Bae Hefna, she was about to build something new. The Widowmaker versus Frankie. Who breaks first? The Mirage was electric as Frankie Q and the Widowmaker circled each other near the pole, their reflections shifting across the mirrored floor. They weren't fighting. Not yet, but the tension between them was a war in itself. The Widowmaker raised an eyebrow. "So, you came back from the dead. You stronger now? Or just louder?" Frankie grinned, running a slow tongue over her teeth. "You want to find out, babe?" She stepped closer. The Widowmaker didn't move, didn't flinch. Because this wasn't about strength. This was about who would yield first. Frankie let the moment stretch, then dragged her nails across the Widowmaker's jawline, slow, teasing. The Widowmaker's breath hitched, just for a second. Then she smirked. "Babe, I think I like you." Frankie licked her lips. "I think you about to love me." La Pianquai versus Nikita Biscuit. The final hunt out in the Mirage Dunes, La Pianquai had been tracking Nikita Biscuit for hours. She could still smell the scent of furball heels and desperation on the air. She had been waiting for the perfect moment. Now. She was done waiting. She revved her bike, dust kicking up, her body still sore, but her trigger finger itching. Ahead, in the distance, Nikita was running. She thought she was getting away. La Pianquai grinned, pulling her pistol from her thigh holster. "Bitch, you really thought I was going to let you go." She squeezed the trigger. Bang! A single bullet sliced through the Mirage, striking Nikita's leg. Nikita stumbled, hitting the sand hard, blood blooming through her designer stockings. La Pianquai slowed her bike, pulling up beside her, pistol still raised. Nikita groaned, rolling onto her back, clutching her wound. She looked up at La Pianquai and laughed. "Babe, you really can't let shit go, huh?" La Pianquai her head. Babe, you stole from the wrong bitch." She aimed the gun at Nikita's forehead. Nikita's smirk didn't fade. "Then finish it." A long pause. The wind whispered across the dunes. And then, La Pianquai pulled the trigger. Bang! Nikita collapsed, her body still, the last of her breath fading into the Mirage. And La Pianquai, she just holstered her gun, flipped her hair, and rode off into the dunes. Because this wasn't revenge. This was just business. The future of the Mirage. Who reigns now, with Nikita dead, the Bitcoin lost, and the old empire fallen, the future of the Mirage belonged to the strongest. Bae Hefna was rebuilding. Frankie Q was ascending. La Pianquai was cleaning house. The Widowmaker was waiting to see who would yield first. And Neuralink, they weren't done yet. Because power in the Mirage wasn't about money. It was about who was willing to take it. Bae Hefna exhaled, stepping out into the neon glow of her new domain, a smirk playing on her lips. She was starting over. And this time, she wasn't playing by any rules but her own. "Bitches really thought I was done." She grinned. "Nah, babe, I'm just getting started." Chapter 33. Power. Desire and the War for the Mirage. The reflection of the Mirage. Frankie Q versus the Widowmaker. The Mirage dunes stretched wide, the sun casting its last golden rays over the reflective surface of the oasis floor. Frankie Q crouched low, barefoot, body humming with newfound power. She had left the old version of herself behind. Now, she was something else entirely. Her yellow leather pants clung tight to her skin, her chest bare, golden in the sun, unapologetic. She had always been fearless, but now, she was limitless. Frankie Q versus the Widowmaker. A battle of control. Frankie stood barefoot in the reflective Mirage floor, her yellow leather pants clinging to her hips. The Widowmaker perched by the pole, watching her with dark hunger. "You came back from the dead, babe. But do you even know what you are now?" Frankie smirked, flipping her braids. Bitch, I ain't even at full power yet. Cyberpunk enhancement. The Mirage flickered in response to Frankie's words. The pole itself seemed to glow hotter, like the energy around them was bending to her will. The Widowmaker gripped the pole, nails tracing the metal. Show me, then. Frankie moved. The pole became her weapon. She spun, muscles flexing, teasing control. Every motion dripped dominance. She landed in front of the Widowmaker, placing a foot against her thigh, inching higher. The Widowmaker's breath hitched. Frankie grinned. You scared yet? The Widowmaker exhaled, voice husky. Babe, I think I just got turned on. The Widowmaker sat perched by the pole, her body wrapped in black lace and sheer seduction. Her legs crossed effortlessly, as if she was waiting for Frankie to make the first move. She ran a slow tongue over her bottom lip, her eyes trailing every inch of Frankie's body. You're back from the dead, babe. But do you even know what you are now? Frankie smirked, flipping her long braids over her shoulder, her tongue flicking out playfully. Bitch, I ain't even at full power yet. She took a step forward, her bare foot sinking into the cool Mirage floor, her reflection distorted beneath her. The Widowmaker leaned forward, gripping the pole, sliding her nails along the cold metal. Show me, then. Frankie exhaled, stepping even closer, circling her. Oh, babe, you sure you want to play this game with me? The Widowmaker smirked. Bitch, I invented this game. And just like that, the battle for dominance began. The desert duel. Who's watching? Not far from the dunes, a shadow leaned against a black cyber bike, watching. La Pienquei. She had seen a lot of crazy shit in her time, but whatever was happening between Frankie and the Widowmaker, that was some next-level hypnotic bullshit. She licked her lips, amused. This wasn't just power. This was desire as warfare. And the Mirage, it fed on moments like these. She shifted, rolling her shoulders, feeling the weight of the last kill still fresh in her veins. Nikita was dead. The Pienquai motel was gone. And now, the next power shift was about to happen. She just didn't know whose hands it was going to land in. Shit's about to get real interesting. She leaned forward, watching the show unfold. The pole dance of power. Who breaks first? Frankie placed one hand on the pole, letting her fingers glide across the smooth metal, her muscles flexing under the sun. The Widowmaker's breath hitched, just slightly. Frankie smirked. She had her. Thought you was testing me, babe. Why you look nervous? The Widowmaker leaned back, feigning boredom, running a finger over her jawline. Bitch, please. You gotta do better than that. Frankie tilted her head, gripping the pole, lifting herself with an effortless spin, her body curving like silk through the Mirage heat. She landed smoothly, her foot pressing against the Widowmaker's thigh. No hesitation. No fear. The Widowmaker stilled. The game had changed. It wasn't just a power struggle anymore. It was an invitation. Frankie grinned, dragging her foot up just an inch higher. You scared yet? The Widowmaker exhaled, her lips parting. Babe, I think I just got turned on. La Pienquai chuckled from the sidelines. Oh, this is some wild shit. The last warning. The Mirage is never just a playground. The air shifted. Something cold. Something off. Frankie's body stiffened, the Widowmaker sensing it too. Even La Pienquai felt it from a distance. Something was watching them. Something wasn't right. Frankie slowly turned, looking out toward the horizon. The Mirage wasn't just responding to them anymore. It was reacting to something else. The Widowmaker narrowed her eyes, standing up. You feel that, babe? Frankie's jaw clenched. Yeah, and I don't like it. A glitch rippled through the air. A flicker in the reflection beneath them. And then, a single voice crackled through the Mirage frequencies. Targets identified. Prepare for acquisition. La Pienquai's eyes snapped wide. Oh, fuck. Neuralink. They had found them. The final war begins. What will Frankie choose? The Mirage trembled as the first Neuralink airships appeared in the distance. They weren't here to negotiate. They weren't here to play games. They were here to take control. Frankie Q clenched her fists, feeling the energy rising inside her, something raw, something untamed. She wasn't running anymore. She had spent too long losing. Now, she was about to take everything back. She looked at the Widowmaker, looked at the future of the Mirage crumbling before them, and she grinned. Bitches, we fighting or what? The Widowmaker cracked her neck, rolling her shoulders. Babe, I was waiting for you to ask. La Pienquai pulled her gun, hopping onto her bike. Let's ride. And just like that, the war for the Mirage had officially begun. Chapter 34. The Kiss, the Betrayal and the War. Begins Bae Hefna's trap. The kiss that changed everything. The air in the Mirage pulsed, thick with heat, electricity, and something far more dangerous. Frankie Koo stood barefoot in the reflective pool, yellow leather pants clinging to her legs, her bare chest rising and falling as she stared down Bae Hefna. The Widowmaker stood just a few feet away, her arms crossed, watching, waiting. She had spent years playing power games, but this was something else. She saw the way Frankie's energy crackled around her fingertips, saw how Bae Hefna's golden eyes were locked on her like she already owned her. And then, the moment that changed everything, Bae Hefna moved in. Slow, deliberate. She reached out, her fingers brushing against Frankie's jaw, tilting her face up. "Babe, I think you need to wake up." Frankie didn't move, didn't resist. She let Bae's lips hover just an inch from hers. And then, Bae kissed her, and the Mirage exploded. A shockwave blasted outward, rippling through the air like a broken reality glitch. The Widowmaker staggered back, eyes wide. She felt it. Not just the energy, not just the power, but the connection. This wasn't just a kiss. It was something bigger, something she wasn't a part of, and for the first time in her life, she felt like she was on the outside. She clenched her fists, her breath short. And that was the moment she chose betrayal. The Widowmaker's last move. A blade to the back, Frankie Koo felt the energy surge through her. She felt Bae Hefna's warmth, her control, her gravity. It was intoxicating. But before she could fully sink into it, the Widowmaker moved, silent, fast. A blade slipped from her sleeve, thin, razor sharp, and before anyone could react, she drove it toward Frankie's back. But the second the blade hit skin, it snapped in half. A pulse of blue energy exploded from Frankie's body, sending the Widowmaker flying backward, crashing into the sand. Frankie gasped, her eyes glowing, her body shaking. She turned, staring at the Widowmaker with something new in her gaze. "Bitch, did you just try to stab me?" The Widowmaker gritted her teeth, wiping blood from her lip. "You don't even know what you are, and I don't trust what I don't understand." Frankie tilted her head, stepping toward her. The air shimmered around her body, like the Mirage was bending to her presence. Bae Hefna just smirked, licking her lips. "Oh, babe, you're scared." The Widowmaker spat on the ground, pulling herself up. "I don't get scared." She turned on her heel, disappearing into the dunes. But they all knew she wasn't done. Not yet. And as Frankie turned back to BAE, panting, still trying to process what just happened, the sky went dark. And then, Neuralink arrived. The real war begins. Neuralink attacks. The first dropships cut through the Mirage sky, sleek, black, and deadly. This wasn't just another attempt to hack the system. This was an invasion. The first assassins dropped onto the sand, their bodies encased in Neuralink cyber armor, their visors glowing red. A mechanized voice echoed across the desert. Targets identified. Proceeding with elimination. Bae Hefna cracked her neck, rolling her shoulders. Frankie Koo clenched her fists, energy crackling around her fingers. And then, another roar cut through the air. Engines. A black and white ship descended from the sky, sleek, aggressive, and at the helm, Localux. She had finally arrived. She jumped down from the cockpit, her boots slamming into the Mirage floor, her blaster gun already spinning in her hand. She looked at Frankie, then at BAE, then at the Neuralink assassins, and she grinned. "Bitches, y'all missed me." Frankie chuckled, shaking out her arms. "Took your ass long enough." BAE Hefna just sighed, stretching. "All right, let's fuck these bitches up." And then, the fight began. Chapter 35. The end of the Mirage, or just the beginning. The final battle. Frankie Koo versus Neuralink. The Mirage burned in electric blue and violet flames, the reflection of the battle stretching across its endless mirrored floor. Neuralink had come to take everything, but they had underestimated one thing. Frankie Koo. She stood at the center of the chaos, barefoot, golden skin glowing under the last rays of the Mirage sun, her yellow leather pants torn from the fight. She wasn't human anymore. She was something bigger, stronger, unstoppable. With a flick of her wrist, energy ripped through the battlefield, sending Neuralink assassins flying. They came in waves, but every time they moved, Frankie was faster, stronger. She dodged bullets like they were slow-motion dreams, flipped through the air like she had wings, crushed their cybernetic bodies with nothing but a flick of her fingers. This wasn't just a fight. This was her ascension. Bae Hefna watched from a distance, her arms crossed, lips parted slightly. She had seen power before, but nothing like this. Frankie wasn't just winning, she was erasing them. And when the last Neuralink soldier fell, their red visors flicked, the Mirage was still standing. But something was different now. Something was different now. But something had shifted. And Bae Hefna knew it before she even turned to look. Frankie Q was gone. The goodbye. Loka Lux and Frankie's final words. Loka Lux found Frankie first. Before she could leave, before she could disappear for good, she stood by her black cyber bike, the Mirage stretching infinitely behind her, her body still glowing, still humming from the fight. Loka pulled up, hopping off her own ride, dust kicking up around her. Bitch, where you think you going? Frankie smirked, running a hand through her long braids, her fingers still tingling with power. Away, babe, ain't in me to die here. Loka frowned, stepping closer. The Mirage still needs you. BAE still. Frankie laughed, shaking her head. BAE don't need nobody, babe, 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 babe. Least of all me. Loka hesitated. She had seen the kiss. She had felt the shift. You sure about that? Frankie exhaled, looking out at the desert, her face unreadable. She was sure. Because in that kiss, she had seen everything. Every lie. Every game. Every move. Bae Hefna was never going to love her. Not the way she needed. Not the way Frankie deserved. So she was leaving. Before she could fall any deeper. Before Bae had the chance to pull her back in. She swung her leg over her bike, looking back at Loka one last time. Tell BAE I'm gone. Tell her she won. Loka tilted her head. And what if she don't believe me? Frankie smirked, revving the engine, sound ripping through the Mirage like a warning. She will. And then she was gone. Bae Hefna's last look. A queen without her favorite pawn. By the time Bae Hefna reached the edge of the Mirage, Frankie Q had vanished. She stood there, staring at the empty dunes, the last traces of energy still flickering in the air. Loka Lux pulled up beside her, kicking down her bike stand. Bae didn't even look at her. Her jaw was tight, her lips pressed together, but her eyes gave her away. Loka sighed, pulling out a cigar, lighting it slow. She told me to tell you she's gone, that you won. BAE didn't react. Didn't blink, just stood there, still. Unmoved. Like it didn't mean anything. Like it didn't cut her down the middle. Loka blew out a slow stream of smoke. So what now, babe? You gonna chase her? Or let her go? A long pause. Too long. And then, finally, Bae Hefna turned. Her face unreadable. Her voice calm. Controlled. Deadly. I don't chase bitches. And with that, she walked away. Not looking back. Not letting herself feel it. Because Bae Hefna never lost. Even when she did. The Mirage remains. But for how long? The battle was over. The Mirage had survived. But something was different now. Neuralink was gone. For now. The Widowmaker had disappeared. Frankie Q had ascended into something else entirely. And Bae Hefna. She had won. But the Mirage felt emptier. Quieter. Like it was waiting. For something new. For something new. For something new. For something bigger. For the next war. And deep in the desert. Beyond the dunes. Under the neon glow of a distant city. Frankie Q rode into the unknown. No attachments. No rules. No Mirage. Just the open road and whatever came next. Because this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.